Hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go have a series of meetings.
Okay,
Here we go.
this one's for Mike Dussault.
Yeah, here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault. He made his name in blogging, and he's a youth hockey referee. And don't you ever forget those 28-3 tees. He's last in the picks, and he's sneaky negative. But he knows his hoodies and he knows them good. Did you know that he used to live in Hollywood? Okay,
Here we go.
this one's for Mike Dussault.
Yeah, here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
Okay. Here we go.
He's sneaky negative.
Okay. Here we go.
This one's for Mike Dussault.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
That was outstanding. Outstanding.
I just love it.
I
love it.
I don't
That's like
even know
the
what to
third time
say.
I've listened to it, and I just love it. I love the
What's her
sneaky
name?
negative.
Jill.
Jill.
Yeah,
Jill.
yeah.
Jill in New Hampshire.
That was my first time listening to it, and I that was amazing.
It's a banger.
That was
Oh my
fantastic.
God! I was overcome. Like I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's she
Let's
sums it
go,
up. That's
Mike
me.
Dussault.
Absolutely a banger. Is it
No,
a banger?
It's a banger.
Yes.
Yeah. No, thank you, Jill. That was
It's tremendous.
I don't know. I was like, I don't know what to say.
Well,
It's
you
just
lost
amazing.
you lost your practice.
No, I know.
I mean,
and
you've been bitching about
right,
it for
right.
3
I've been
weeks.
bitching about it. And she's like, we got to throw him a bone. So I don't know when we'll have to cue that up. But the start with the here we go. That was brilliant.
That's fantastic. All right. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and it's Deuce. It's Tamara in her leopard skin.
Is that leopard?
Evan, Paul, myself, Matt in the booth.
Wait, what was it? Can you do that again?
And
This will probably be my last time wearing this.
What a start. Jeez.
the season is over. The Patriots wrapped up the season with a 17-3 loss to the Jets. In a game I thought there was no way they would lose. I
got to be honest. I didn't think they would lose either.
Yeah.
I picked them to
I
win
think we
the
all picked
blowout.
it, right?
Yeah,
We were all
and-
back on
and
board.
I mean, I thought there was a chance they could lose, but I didn't think they would lose.
The fact that they just couldn't put together anything, and I know the weather was bad and everything, but still,
Jets made some
they
plays.
managed to run for 180 yards.
Yeah.
Just really disappointing end to the season, but typical of what the season's been. Disappointing. And of course, the big story is what's going to happen with Bill Belichick. We don't know. We know, according to reports, that they met yesterday. What's going on today? We have no idea.
Got no idea. No.
Yeah.
Hearing various reports.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Jeff Howe thing where it's like they met, they're going to meet again. I mean, it was just classic.
Yeah.
Like nothing really.
if he
player-
stays, they could do this. If he doesn't stay, they could do this or that.
Yeah. The
Breaking.
Players have packed up and they're gone.
Yeah.
You know.
Saw them all.
The human tarp.
Yeah, it's always a tough
Covers
morning.
all bases.
And then there was a story today by Mike Cadlick, who had extensive time with Trent Brown. Did you read that?
That was Dakota.
it's Dakota
Randall.
Oh, I'm
Randall.
sorry.
Your
Sorry,
guy,
Dakota.
your guy Dakota.
Sorry, Dakota.
I just want to give proper credit.
Yeah.
to Dakota.
Sorry, Dakota. My bad. But he got some time with Trent Brown, and Trent Brown unloaded.
Yep.
I saw a lot of people, oh, Trent Brown speaking the truth. Like media people saying
Yeah.
that. Like, why is that any,
Oh.
more true than the other stuff?
so
that's
ridiculous.
No, you
But
pick-
anyway, it's interesting to hear what he had to say.
I mean, I think some of it we can talk about because he obviously makes himself out to be,
Yeah,
like
sympathetic
he was
figure.
He was grinding, but also at the same time saying like, yeah, I didn't really want to go to camp early, and it's really hard there, and
Right.
he's kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth. I thought the interesting thing was the Karras and Mason thing, and we've talked about that stuff.
It's the only thing I had. any
right there, it
interest
was
in.
like, keep these guys. You're not constantly chasing your tail for that position. So that to me was
Well, when a
most
player is that specific about personnel moves, that he's not the only one talking about it. Like
Yeah.
that's the scuttlebutt.
Sure.
Yeah, and he was on that 21 line, right? So like that was his line for a while, and I think we all talk about it all the time how they've fallen apart since then. Those series of moves on the interior Tooney, Karras, Mason, that was a domino effect, and they've never recovered.
Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, but despite all of that, he's like, yeah, I'd be open to come back, but, you know, we'd have to talk.
You know what it is?
What? He doesn't have any options?
No, if they give him more money than anybody
yeah.
else, like the last time, he'll come back.
Yeah.
That's what it's about for these guys.
Yeah, but that's not
for
gonna-
most of them. Not all of
That
them,
can't
most of
happen.
them. No, I would highly doubt it. But the premise of what he talked about with Karras is something that we talk about a lot when we're talking about like the draft picks and the young players, and I think you can't identify it. You can't. There's not a spreadsheet that has a column that you can say this is actually part of your team building. But I do think that you're right, Fred. When they have a guy like Ted Karras, and this is like I want to focus on Karras in particular because there's a lot of people that would say, well, Joe Tooney, that's a lot of money. Shaq Mason, they gave a lot of money. Ted Karras, we're not talking about a lot of money. We're just talking about average, pretty much a bargain for a starting caliber offensive lineman. And when you let those guys go, it does, I think, resonate in the locker room. And people look at that and say, God, like Ted Karras, he was like a late-round draft
He's a
pick.
Jacoby guy,
worked
right?
his way
Same
up,
kind of thing.
did everything the team wanted him to do, ascended to a starting job, and played really well in that role, and they still let him go over peanuts.
People like him too much.
Over peanuts.
Honestly, he was a media favorite. I love Ted
yeah.
Karras. I mean, that guy is
Ted talks.
He's a great human being. He's Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Bengals this year, team captain. That's a guy that they should have been building around. But it's like they have a boat that's taking on water. And instead of just plugging holes that already exist, they just start creating these other holes. And that's exactly what they did on the offensive line and that's kind of what Trent's point was you already had to draft a new quarterback, get receivers, do all these other things. And now you're starting over on the offensive line too. And they spread themselves too thin. You don't have all the resources in the world to be able to fix everything all at once.
That's why I'm concerned. I'm like, who ultimately made this decision? Was it the scouting department? Was it Bill? Who's at fault here?
Hey, in Bill's own words, he had final say.
For who to sign and who not, that's 100% Bill.
Yikes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what else resonated for me was the thing about it just sucks not knowing your schedule for the next day until the night before, and it's impossible to plan anything.
I've heard that from a lot of people.
And I think we're all on that schedule too.
Yeah.
We all get that. So.
Yeah,
Hoping to get a little top golf in tonight.
That's been a common theme throughout the years. More from coaches than
We've
players.
heard that going back. Fred and I can tell you stories like literally going back to like the early part of the dynasty.
This was always it. Keep them on your toes throughout the season.
That's not a new thing with Bill's always.
Bill's
been
always
like
been like that.
Yeah, so that's not like lately.
That's not the reason why it doesn't work.
Yeah. That's not a thing of late. He's since the beginning. He's always let's worry about what we have to worry about now. We'll make schedules for next month. But I get what Trent Brown's saying. Like you have families, you want to know when you can have your time off. Your wife or significant others at home, and she's wondering, how can I plan this stuff? And you just don't have any answers, and it's frustrating. It makes a difficult job even more difficult for no reason.
Yeah,
for no reason.
And we're kind of collateral damage here. Like we're under the same guidelines. We don't know. Like hey, locker room's going to be at this time when you were supposed to pick up your kid or those kind of things. It's like, crap.
When you're winning, that stuff is fine.
Yeah.
But when you're not, that becomes really bad. And the 49ers, for example, is the exact opposite. Like they're famous for like sending flowers to the wives, having dinners where families can come to the facility when they know they're going to work late, and at least they can get some time in and have dinner with everybody. They take that into consideration. They're acknowledging this is tough. It's a sacrifice for everyone. We're going to do what we can to make it a little bit better. Bill doesn't think that way. He doesn't think that way.
No, I mean, I'm sure same conversations. Like, so what's your schedule tomorrow? I'm waiting. I don't know. It's 7:00. What tomorrow? What are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think that stuff is important. And we talked about that a little bit in the offseason when those reports came out about the player surveys and whatnot. And the Patriots didn't fare well in some of those kinds of things that Fred's talking about. But I look at it more just pure football with what we're talking about. Like, if you're Kyle Duggar or Josh Uche or someone like you're grinding through and you're thinking about as this season's going on, I'm going to be a free agent. They're not going to re-sign me. Like you're thinking, Like, Ted Karras did absolutely everything that you could possibly want in a guy. He wasn't costing a lot of money, wasn't asking for a lot of money. And they still let him go over $1 million.
They lowballed him, too.
They lowballed him over $1 million.
I mean, when
so
you
like,
think-
if what kind of message does that send? And I'm not telling you that every guy says, well, forget it. I don't think that happens. These guys are going to be free agents. They want to be as marketable as they can when they hit the open market. I just think it's a bad message that it gets sent, and I'm not surprised to hear even a guy like Trent Brown, who sort of seems like he's not always on the program. Even he is saying, like, they had these two guys and they created problems. Like Evan said, it's like you smashed another hole in the side of the boat for no reason.
And think about it. If Karras was still here, yes, he'd probably be making more money than Cole Strange. But in terms of the asset that you had to use to get Cole Strange, that's more valuable than what you would be paying Ted Karras right now.
Right, it's a domino effect because now the first-round pick is used on Cole Strange instead of it being used on Trent McDuffie.
Right.
And if it's used on Trent McDuffie, then you don't have to draft Christian Gonzalez and so on and so forth. And that's how you could create these holes. So can we go back to the game for a second, though?
Sure.
I have a little thought on the game.
Yeah. Think away.
Are we sure they wanted to win on Sunday?
I mean, when you say we, who do you include in that?
We.
The five of us.
Are we sure that the Patriots, we think the Patriots wanted to win that
sure,
game?
there's a silver lining in losing. There's no doubt. But I wanted to win because I wanted to beat the Jets.
Yeah, but do you think they did? Do you think there was any potential for a tank there?
At the player level, no. At the coaching level, I wonder because, like, what would they care about the future if they think they're not part of it?
Yeah, I don't think that they I thought they tried to win, and I think that they tried to move the ball and throw it downfield at times, and the fourth down play.
I would agree
with
that on offense, and I'm not saying that they necessarily intentionally tanked, but defensively, that was like a preseason game plan that they put out there defensively. And Devon Gotcha after the game.
Do you think the weather had anything to do with that?
In terms of like how they're like structurally aligning and how they're playing the run game, I don't know how the weather would impact
If you tell me that there were some guys making business decisions out there when it came to putting their head, I would say there might have been.
Yeah, I just look at the way that they game planned and the way that the lack of adjustments in game to what the Jets were doing offensively in the run game. Devon Godchaux told me after the game that he felt like they got outcoached. Just flat out said that they got outcoached. And they were running the same outside zone play over and over and over again, and they were running it into the same fronts with the same fits, and they had no adjustments whatsoever. Does that sound like a Bill Belichick coach defense to any of you? Like,
no. I mean, yeah.
And I look at their game plan defensively. I wouldn't say maybe preseason's going a little too far. Maybe more like September extension of the preseason game plan, where it's like base fronts, base blitzing package, base coverage. We're not doing anything exotic. There's no wrinkles to the game plan whatsoever. Like, you're in a snowstorm against the Jets, and you're putting 7 guys in the box. Like, what are you worried about them? You have split safety. Like, what are you worried about them going over the top on you for? Like, you're worried about Trevor Siemian's going to air it out in a blizzard?
If what you're saying is true, it would have to come from Bill in terms of, hey, we're just going to be vanilla. And why would he do that? Like, what's...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that they ran the same play and ran for 200 yards on the same play over and over again.
I mean, that's a lot of good stuff there. I just would look at it as like maybe he looked at it and said, we can just line up and be very safe here and very vanilla. There's no way they're going to score any points. And I think he was right. They weren't going to score any points doing that. They got the points. Let's face it, the game, the game was over when they scored the touchdown. Otherwise, you're right there. They did throw one ball over the top and set up one of the field goals, and the other field goal was set up by a 30-yard punt that gave them the ball in field goal range.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like for all the yards that they piled up, it's not like they really threatened to score at all. And I think that Bill probably also looked at it and said, yeah, they're going to kick a lot of field goals, and you're going to have a hard time making them. And to Zerline's credit, he made them. Made 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I get what you're saying, and I certainly respect what Gotcha had to say to you.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's what Bill thought was the best way to win the game.
And all the Patriots had to do was score a couple touchdowns, and you're probably going to win the game. Because it would change the whole dynamic.
And offensively, they ran. They
were trying to move the ball.
They ran. They went for it on 4th down, as Paul said. They ran a trick play. Try to run a double pass to get a ball down the field. But in general, defensively, like the drive before the 50-yard touchdown, the Jets ran the same exact play and gained 8 yards on the same play, and then ran it again on the 50-yard touchdown, and the Patriots just tried to play it the same exact way. It's very un-Patriot-like to me to see them come out in such a vanilla look defensively, especially when you know that really the only way you're losing the game is if Breece Hall goes off.
Yeah, and I would say that on that last drive, it's 9-3. You turn the ball back over on the second interception. Like, you got to just put 10 guys in the box. They're not going to throw it.
Right.
They're just going to try to run the clock out and get a first down, and then to give up a long touchdown run on that. Yeah. Maybe at that point, Bill said, well, we're losing anyway.
I don't know. I just don't. That didn't. Maybe it's not. Taking's the wrong word for it. I just look at the way that they played on defensively and said they weren't really as
apathetic,
as into it as they normally are.
So I have a guy who emails me all the time, and I don't know exactly who he is. It's not the email that it comes from is not his real name, so I don't know exactly who it is. But he sends me these detailed things every week down the stretch. Chapter and verse why he thinks they're tanking, and he thinks Bill's in on it, because otherwise, why would Bill be doing it? Like, Bill knows he's back, and they're tanking, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing the other thing, and it doesn't make it. Now, I don't agree with it. I think some of the things that he says are sort of evidence of tanking. I don't look at the same way. But, who knows? Doesn't mean I'm right. Yeah. Maybe this guy has had it all along.
I think the weather muddied it a little bit too, like just enough to be like, what the hell's going on down there? And it's like that little factor that you can't really quite.
Well, the other
totally
thing too
down.
is, like, did anybody possibly envision the Jets playing a clean game?
Yeah.
Like, their only turnover was when the moron tried to lateral an interception return.
Right. And when that happened, all right, here we go.
Yeah. You just look at the Buffalo game against Josh Allen, and they threw everything they had at Josh Allen. They were running all sorts of crazy stuff against Josh Allen, and then they come into this game and they're running their base 3-4 with light neutral boxes, and it's a snowstorm, and the only way that the Jets are going to move the ball is if Breece Hall runs for 200 yards. That was the only way they were going to score, and I looked at it and was like, this is just not a Bill Belichick, Gerard Mayo, Steve Belichick. Like, we have this great game plan. We're like, after the Bills game, all the defensive players are sitting there saying, our coaches had us really prepared for this game. Like, Gerard Mayo gets shout-outs from Dietrich Wise at the podium and things like that. And in this game, I just
Didn't
thought
hear that this
was like, ugh, this is your campaign to bring Bill back or have Gerard be the head coach. I would not show him this film.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Interesting
Thank
thought.
you.
Any other thoughts on the game at all? Or
I just went in expecting the Jets' best player, we were expecting them to run the ball a lot, and the Patriots defense has been so stout against the run that I really didn't have much fear that they weren't going to be able to stop him.
Yeah.
So I guess it was just, I don't know, kind of to Evan's point, it kind of made you think, were they really trying? Because they just been so good against it, and to force the Jets to throw the ball was going to be tough, obviously, in that situation. And I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, to not just have 8-9 guys in the box, to have split safety on the 50-yard touchdown run, and then Jabril Peppers has to come screaming up to try to fit it, and now you're in the snow, so he loses his footing, and it just all those types of things. I'm just well, how is this the plan? You really thought Trevor Siemian was gonna go, Tom Brady 09 and bombs away in the snow? There's no chance.
Yeah.
There's no way.
I definitely wasn't expecting they're gonna try to just run it, but that's dumb to do against the Patriots defense, who's been so good against the run. So I don't know. It just was weird.
As a result, they have the 3rd pick now.
There you go.
And I don't think it's going to be Michael Penix after last night.
I mean, that's what's just funny about
or Michael Penix.
The process.
I feel bad for him too.
I know, but it's last week after everyone was, he's gonna be one of the top 10, and now he's out. It's just the roller coaster.
Does anybody
he's the
am
same
I the
player.
only one that just looks at that stuff and says it's not really it doesn't really get wildly fluctuated based on the last 2 games.
Right.
Well, it doesn't fans view.
Right.
No, but I don't.
Not the scouts.
You know what I think of that?
Yeah.
I actually disagree because the college football playoff is the best of the best.
Right.
So this is the closest thing competition-wise that he's going to get to playing NFL competition before he gets to the NFL.
No, true. You wanted to see what he was going to do against a really good team with a good defense. But then again, I mean, he got his butt kicked.
Yeah.
So
I just look at it as
was it an honest evaluation?
Maybe I'm being incredibly naive, but I think a hell of a lot more of these guys in the NFL than to think, well, cross him,
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get him in the third round.
He puddled.
I don't think he puddled. I think you guys are right. I think that he was under a lot of pressure all night, and it was a little off.
He missed some.
He missed some. The fourth down throw that he missed early in the game was huge.
Yeah.
He had that they dial up a play and he's wide open and he overthrew him, threw it to the outside. But the thing that makes these difficult is you don't know where he's rated. You don't like Evan made the point a couple of weeks ago of it takes everybody in the media a little while to catch up to where the league is on where everybody's rated to go. So I don't know. For all I know, the league had him going number 7 overall. And everybody else thinks he's like a borderline first-round pick. I don't know where the league has him. If the league, I just can't imagine that. Like, to me, it would have had to have been something way different that you saw than that. That was just like he didn't play great.
Yeah, I think the general consensus from like the reporting that's been out there on it is that the league was definitely lower on him than the media and the public, which shocker, like it's usually the case. And I think he was viewed as a guy that had some first round traits, but was probably more of like an early second round prospect because of the injuries and because of the history that he has there.
Yeah.
And I think this game, the warts that did exist on film with him, inability to evade pressure, not the most mobile guy in the pocket, and then also just struggling to throw to the intermediate part of the field. Like the biggest problem I see with him is that he only throws fastballs. Like the ball comes out and it's 99 miles an hour, whether it's a 5-yard throw or it's a 50-yard throw, he's throwing the ball the same way. And in this game, Michigan really forced him to like layer throws in there into the middle of the field, and he just doesn't really have a great feel for that part of his game.
Yeah,
and that's NFL throws. Like those are how you move the ball in the league.
I would just like to think that the NFL had that evaluation.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
not just Evan.
Like no. I'm saying
that's fair.
Because listen, we talked last week. Eldred has been talking about how well he runs, and I keep saying like he clearly is not a great runner. Like you don't have these numbers if you're a great runner. I would argue that McCarthy's a better runner than Penix.
McCarthy actually looked really fast last night.
Yeah, he stinks.
I don't know. I think he helped himself a little bit.
He
did really good job of handing the ball off.
Yeah,
I will say that.
I was going to say he's a guy like who just because you win a national championship doesn't mean you need to go top 10.
I know.
Well, plus, I think Tannenbaum gave him the kiss of death. I saw today on Twitter. This is the rock solid draft pick. Should be middle of the first round. It's all I need to. It's all I need to hear. It's all I need to hear. I'm out on him because Tannenbaum's low for life.
There's a lot of old school scouts like a Tannenbaum on Twitter.
That's the way quarterback should be played, Evan.
That talk about McCarthy's like he's a winner and he's tough and he's smart and he all those types of things, and the league is wised up on a lot of that stuff, I feel like, and now has gone more.
Tom Brady did that.
Yeah, gone more towards the traits side of things versus like let's get the smart winner quarterback. Like that.
Like I said, the whole thing, and I know the fans, we're all gonna wildly overreact because it's fun. That's what we do. But I would like to think that the NFL had an idea of Michael Penix's skill set before the Texas game and before the Michigan game. And I totally agree that those are wildly different performances. I just feel like I don't think that they changed their mind as drastically as we do.
No. Who's better, J.J. McCarthy or Stetson Bennett?
J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. Okay. I think J.J. McCarthy. But yeah, with Penix, his timing and his accuracy into the middle of the field was the big knock, along with the the ability under pressure to escape pressure and the mobility and that sort of thing. And that's exactly what came out last night against Michigan. So I think that's what's the most alarming is like, were these knocks just, were they yellow flags or were they red flags?
Or, nitpicking.
Right. And Michigan makes it look like those are real concerns
and I saw
about his projection.
He was sacked like 12 times all year.
Yeah.
Like that to me is a concern.
Yeah.
Like, because clearly he didn't have to deal with that very often. And he was only sacked once last night, but he clearly is not under the same amount of duress that a lot of other guys are.
And to be fair, just every quarterback in this class has this game. Jaden Daniels had Florida State. Drake May had NC State. Caleb Williams had Notre Dame. They were all under siege with a ton of pressure, and they all stunk.
Well, they're all not that good.
That's always a possibility.
Yeah. But every quarterback has a mulligan. It just so happens that his was in the national championship game.
Yeah, so I still like Penix a lot, but he did not play well last night. I can't. I'm not going to pretend that what I saw didn't happen.
That's how I'm I feel like I've changed a little bit with my draft approach, and right now I feel like one or two of these quarterbacks is going to be good. One or two of them. That's it.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Well, that's realistic.
I don't know which one or two.
Year. It's very rare that you have 5 or 6 guys and they're all good. That's rare.
Oh, yeah. That almost never happens.
Yeah. It's more like 1 or 2.
Yeah. I mean, top to bottom, like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at Patriots.com is the email address. What else? We got the coach thing. We got the Jets game. We got the national championship and the draft choice for the Patriots coming up. What else?
Opponents. We know where all the opponents are. Going back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Get to see them. And then a couple of reports of Pioli and McDaniels, like those kind of things being kicked around.
That
a
was
little
kind
bit,
of weird. Like all of a sudden, it's like Bill does his press conference and says, "Yeah, I'd be willing to do whatever's in the best interest of the team."
Right now,
and all of a sudden now all these stories about Josh McDaniels coming back and Pioli coming back, get the band together.
Just want to say thank you, Fred Kirsch.
Yeah.
For just the way you just said that. He says, I'd be willing to do what's in the best interest of the team, which is what he said.
Right.
The only thing that was added to that you just paraphrased was if we collectively decide it's in the best interest of the team. But everybody has said, well,
he's willing to step down.
Bill is willing to. No. He conceded he's willing to relinquish that. That's not what he said. It's not what he said.
I know.
And I think that a lot of people have taken it that way. Like this was he's begging to step. Like no, he said that he'd be willing to do collectively what's in the best interest of the team.
I think what he is doing is making it tough.
Correct.
Oh yeah.
Leverage play
for sure.
That was a complete leverage play. He never mentions his contract. He mentions that he was under contract, that he'd be willing to do whatever. I'm a good employee.
Yeah.
I'm willing to be here. I'm not disgruntled. So in other words, if you want to get rid of me, you got to fire me.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving.
And that narrative.
I'm not leaving.
That narrative.
Good fellas.
That will
F you,
stick.
pay
That'll
me.
become one of the Felger facts if that sticks. And then if Bill leaves, then they'll say, well, I mean, he was willing to step down. They didn't do that though. Like he said,
oh no,
look, I'm willing to do it.
It was the opposite yesterday.
He
was.
I didn't mean specifically to Felger, but
our boss was under fire.
Yeah, well, that's
like, what are we waiting for?
Right, well, that's
it's like one day, Mike. Jesus.
That's what I mean. It's it's just all these things that all of a sudden get construed into being a fact, and now they're become examples when you're like, I don't even know if that's true. And I certainly agree 100% with what Paul said.
It's a leverage play.
What he was saying was what he was saying. He wasn't voluntarily saying, if they want me to step down, no problem. I'll just coach the team.
And earlier in the show, Fred also touched on something else that Bill said yesterday that didn't get really a lot of play, and that was that, we have a lot of people that are involved in these decisions, and someone has to be the final say, and that's been me.
That's me.
That's me.
Yeah.
So he's telling you that I have final say.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, people continue to say, well, Robert Kraft made him do this, and this guy made him do that. And he's telling you that we have a lot of people that weigh in on a lot of these decisions, and I am the one who has the final say. And people still don't listen to it.
Yeah. Do you think there was anything more, though, to McDaniels being here this weekend other than coming to a game in a blizzard to say goodbye to Matthew Slater?
I wouldn't rule it out. I don't know. I mean, like he's looking
around.
he needs something to do, right?
Well,
and he's getting paid.
And
so
he lives here, right?
Does he still live here?
Yeah,
Oh, does he still live here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was a little ride down the road. So.
Yeah. I think it was about both Slater and Bill.
Yeah.
I think he recognized that it was quite possibly Bill's last game, too. But, yeah, Slater's probably the bigger thing. Where was he at the game? Do you guys know?
I don't know. Somebody said, I think he went through the VIP gate, whatever that gate is. I'm not sure to which gate they were referring.
Do you know where he watched from, Fred?
I have no idea.
Up in the 300s, probably. He's bundled
Well,
up.
was he in the stands or was he in a suite?
Oh, I can't imagine he was
God,
outside.
I can't imagine he was outside. I know. He's
You
got
know?
that Raider money.
Evidently,
you know?
Will was down, in the middle of one of the 100 levels.
Oh, of course he should. Yeah. Let's
No,
upgrade.
they never made it up to my seats.
I was gonna say.
Because I would imagine Bill has a suite, right? Bill Belichick.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
So he's probably in that one.
maybe. I don't know. I mean, Evan brought it up. It's really hard. I mean, look, nobody really, I think, is going to advocate for this, but it's really hard to see Josh McDaniels and Bill O'Brien on the same staff trying to make that work. Like that seems impossible to me.
Yeah.
Not that I would ever advocate for it, but
something would have to give there.
Somebody have to go.
Unless Josh, he's getting paid, he doesn't care, and he's just the quarterback's coach.
yeah.
Well, Bill O'Brien's the quarterback's coach.
Right, I know, but O'Brien could be a coordinator and give
Yeah,
up
I mean, I just think that there's the senior football advisor role is, but then Joe Judge is technically the assistant head coach, so isn't that kind of
Right.
the same thing? And I just think there's a lot of cooks in that kitchen, and who's the young quarterback listening to? Once, and then if they struggle for the first month, and it's going to be, well, why don't we have McDaniels call plays? It's just.
I think we should have a staff of all former head coaches.
Oh God.
Bring back Patricia. We can have
He's doing well in
McDaniels
Philly.
and Joe Judge.
Really well.
Yeah.
On the surface, though, the plan being, we're going to beef up personnel, we're going to beef up the coaching staff, we're going to bring back guys with experience that know what they're doing. That's I would imagine that's probably his pitch, Bill's pitch. Whether it's a guy like Pioli, McDaniels, whoever, we're going to bring the band back together and we're going to get the coaching staff back in order, and we're not going to rely on, these kids that haven't been doing it for very long, and we're going to get, veterans back in the room, and everything's going to be fine.
Along those lines, something that Tamara was talking about last week about, sort of having some urgency to make these moves. I saw today Carmen Basillo is going to be interviewing for the offensive line job for the Giants because he's part of the staff with the Raiders. He's kind of in limbo. They don't know exactly what they're going to do, if they're going to retain Antonio
We have breaking
Pierce.
news.
Oh, we have news.
It's not our breaking news. Mike Vrabel fired as the Titans head coach.
That's breaking news.
There we go.
News breaks. We break it.
We wait
Wow.
for someone else to
That's-
say it and then let you know.
That's big news.
That is big news.
I thought he'd go on his terms, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just going off what Paul just said, I think watching the Commanders request all these interviews so fast, it's you don't want to wait until Friday to if you are going to do it to get rid of Bill, and then all the interviews have already happened and you're stuck.
Yeah.
with
Right.
left.
And I think
unless the
Well-
person that you have tagged are still in the playoffs, right?
No, you can't have an interview yet until it's the division round, right?
Right.
You're usually good
Yep,
with those.
division round.
You can't have an in-person interview until the division round.
Right.
Okay.
But my point is,
We cannot just gloss over this Vrabel thing.
you can still do these kinds of things
Yeah.
that Tamara's talking
Oh, you
about.
can request
You can make
Yeah.
requests and
Yeah.
and sort of get your ducks in a row a
Yeah.
little
Yeah,
bit.
so now
But
it's
yeah, the Vrabel
division
thing I
round.
think is huge.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
It is huge.
Yeah, because his candidacy here as Bill's successor was always caveated with they would have to trade for him.
Yep.
Now they wouldn't even have to give up anything to hire him.
What if it's a swap?
Yeah.
Again, we've
thought about
talked
that.
about it. Bill has Tennessee roots. He was born in
Be
Tennessee.
perfect for Bill.
Yeah.
Same team.
Yeah.
It's the same team.
He has a lot of roots in Tennessee, a lot of connections in Tennessee. That wouldn't be the worst place for him to go in his mind.
I think Vrabel's the favorite to land here right now.
Would you lose Gerard if you?
Yeah.
No,
And Gerard would be
I
like,
would-
screw this, I'm out of here.
I'd say make Gerard the defensive coordinator. Make him the official defensive
Okay,
coordinator.
but does he want to be? Would he
Or,
do it?
or do you think he'll leave and go work somewhere like the Giants, who need a defensive coordinator
That's
right
his
now?
choice.
That's great. You can
That's
retain
his
my
choice.
services by making me the janitor, but doesn't mean I'm going to stay.
Right. No, it's his choice. I mean, I'd be.
Yeah,
But
I think you lose Mayo in that scenario.
You
Now,
do?
I'm not telling you that if you think that Vrabel's better, but I'm not telling you not to do it because of that. But I think you lose Mayo if you.
I am kind of with Deuce on this. I think that Mayo would be open to being the official by title defensive
Right.
coordinator.
I need to know a little bit more in terms of what he was told.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess he could feel burned,
Yeah.
but I just feel like at the same time, it's kind of a big leap. We've talked about it for him going as linebackers coach, co-defensive coordinator under Bill Belichick, who's never called plays, who's never done it on his own, to now being a head coach of your football team. Now at least he has a title to fall back on next year or 2 years from now and say, I am the defensive coordinator in New England. I am running it. And, Vrabel's more of the CEO now, and, I'm doing it this way.
Well, if you bring in, if you start looking at Vrabel, then the Rooney Rule does kick in, and you have to interview other people.
Yeah.
I think if you elevate Mayo, because I looked into this, there's a succession clause that the Rooney Rule can't get in the way of, internal succession.
If it's a minority.
No, doesn't matter.
I don't think. I think someone got in trouble for this recently.
No, if the person, and here's the caveat, if the person had something written in their contract a year ahead of time, the Rooney Rule can't get in the way of internal succession. It's not meant to impede or get in the way of continuity on a team. So if the person in question had something in their contract, like if this happens, you will be, then the Rooney Rule gets superseded.
Okay.
If it's internal, from what I understand.
So how does everybody feel about Vrabel?
Yeah, he's got to be the favorite.
Isn't it more of the same though? If we're gonna get,
of course you're in.
I'm not
you
in.
Love him.
If we're gonna, I like Mike Vrabel, but if we're gonna go outside, I want an offensive guy.
Well, why not just hire a new offensive staff?
That would be my thing with Vrabel. I think he's a good motivator. I think he's a good CEO, head coach in that respect. And I would assume that he would try to retain as much of the defensive staff as possible to run the defense. What's your pitch on offense? Because the Titans' offense has not been very good.
That's why I'm out.
And it really, even in the Tannehill years, it was Derrick Henry and play action, and that can't be. It wasn't sustainable.
And I need to know, what are we going to use this number 3 draft pick on? If we're going to use it on a quarterback, I want a head coach who is a quarterback whisperer, who will grow up with this guy, who they'll be together hopefully for the next decade.
That would be ideal. I love Vrabel. I do. I love everything. I love everything about him. I'm just looking at his track record, and I think, listen, if you're asking me gun to my head, Vrabel or Mayo, I would say Vrabel just because of the experience. Mm-hmm. That's it. At least I don't know if Mayo is capable of putting together an offense. I know Vrabel can't. I've watched him for 5+ years. I know that they're going to do exactly what Evan said. They're going to play. It's Bill Light. They're going to try to play defense. They're going to try to keep the score down, and they're going to try to run the ball, and that will get you some wins because he's a good coach, and you'll be able to. What did they win? 6 games? Yeah. I think they stink. He was able to win 6 games. That'll get you some wins. I just don't think it'll get you where you want to go.
Yeah.
I think they kind of took everybody by storm when Tannehill had this incredible deal with the devil in whatever it was, 19, where he was out of his mind down the stretch of that season. He took over halfway through that year and played the best football of his career by far. Again, it's all dependent on that quarterback. And I don't think they have it.
Yeah, I just wonder.
I don't think they have the quarterback.
I wonder, too, with their roster decisions, whose decision was it to move on from A.J. Brown and draft Treylon Burks? Because
that was Robinson, wasn't it? That's why he lost his job.
That's what people assume.
Yeah.
But
he lost the fight.
I would be asking Vrabel straight up, why'd you guys do that? Because in my mind, that's such a Patriots move. We're not going to pay this proven guy. We're going to draft a guy that's 75% as good of him, that's 75% cheaper, right? And that's how you get into this mess. The Tannehill season that Paul is talking about, a lot of that was because A.J. Brown is really, really good at football. And he was just out there making plays, especially off play action where he's just got all this room to run and maneuver, and he was making plays on the ball.
And Derrick Henry was, that much younger and, just dominant.
Well, the best argument that Vrabel would have is, the Adams family. It's and owners love hearing that. They're no good.
The Adams family made me laugh.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder.
Make the pitch, Deuce.
Well, he landed with Derrick Henry, and he had the best running back in the game. So, are we faulting him for building an offense around that guy as much as it echoes what they do here. I mean, they had some success with it. They drafted A.J. Brown. I mean, that's something the Patriots did not do. I hear what you guys are saying, but I also would use, what would you say is the most innovative offense in the NFL right now? Who's running like the most unique offense in the NFL?
Kyle Shanahan.
Baltimore? Well, I mean, a lot of people run the Shanahan offense, though, right? I mean, Baltimore? John Harbaugh's not an offensive guy. I mean, he showed the foresight to change his offense and to accommodate to the players. So I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm just saying just because a guy's a defensive coach doesn't put him in this bubble that he can never
I would
go
argue
outside of a box.
And maybe
how long has Lamar Jackson been Baltimore's quarterback? Since 19?
Yeah.
18?
Yeah.
I think it took him an awful long time to do what he did this year and hire real offensive coaches.
Well, didn't he do with Greg Roman, though? I mean, that was a few years ago.
But all they did was run the ball. This is my point.
Right, but
like anybody can do that. Like
No,
it took him 6 years to say, we need to do something different with this personnel group to figure out a way to do it. I don't want to wait that long.
And to your point, Paul, Todd Monken's now interviewing for head coaching jobs elsewhere.
Greg Roman wasn't.
All right, well, but the point was not that they're going to develop.
He probably was.
The point was not that they're going to develop a unique offense. The point is that just because a coach isn't an offensive coach doesn't mean that you can't have an innovative offensive side of the ball that's been different. So, look, everybody's just going to be pounding the table for Mike McDaniel's get Wes Welker, get these young offensive coordinator guys who have been in the system. That's what the flavor of the month is. That's what everybody's going to say. I don't think it has to be that. And
it doesn't have to be
Vrabel,
that. And to your point, Mike, I'll play your side of the street and back you up a little bit. You've seen D'Amico Ryans doing well with a good offensive coordinator in Bobby Slowick, and you've seen Antonio Pierce, another defensive guy. Now, I don't think that's sustainable, but he's done well with the Raiders. So it doesn't have to be what everybody else is doing to have success. I totally agree with you on that. I would ask with Vrabel, forget about if he's able to get an offensive staff together to how do you think, in your heart of hearts, that you think Mike Vrabel wants to try to play?
Big, tough football team that wants to beat people up.
Right. That's what I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
I worry about Fred's thing because, like, Houston's a great example. D'Amico Ryans is a right there with Coach of the Year. Bobby Slowick has been a coordinator for 1 season with C.J. Stroud and is already getting head coaching interviews. So in a year, in 2 years, the only way that you avoid losing the coordinator every 2 years to a head coaching job if your quarterback is good is if it's somebody who's never getting a head coaching job ever again. Josh McDaniels, Arthur Smith was in Tennessee when it was good offensively with the Titans, so maybe that would be the guy that he would bring in. But are those guys, I don't know if Arthur Smith will get another job. He's only failed once. Maybe he will. But Josh McDaniels is probably not getting a third bite at the apple.
Well, but now you're making the case for Josh McDaniels to come back as offensive coordinator, because then Robert Kraft can say whether it's Gerard Mayo or Mike Vrabel, I'll have you back, Josh, but you can't go anywhere for 5 years at least.
Well, he isn't going to have an
well, that's
opportunity
what I'm saying.
to.
But here's a guy. Here's a guy who you can depend on.
But that's not a reason to hire him, because he's not going anywhere.
Yes, it is.
No.
But is
do
the
you think
offense
he's good?
Josh,
That's the only thing that should be in play here. Is he the best you can get?
As an offensive coordinator?
Do you think he's the best you can get?
I
He's
feel like
as good as anyone.
I feel like it might end up.
How come he's never worked without Brady?
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like the offense is not.
He did pretty good that first year with Mac Jones.
They were fine. They were fine.
I feel like
in hindsight, they were knowing that Mac had all these limitations. They were pretty good.
But I just think that it was very circumstantial and fortunate that he had the first part of Mac Jones, and then you go back and you watch the second half is exactly what you got in the last 2 years.
Well, other teams kind of caught up with
exactly,
Mac Jones,
and he got the benefit of before they caught up.
I don't know. I've heard enough of other people talking about Josh that.
Well, some of the records that the Patriots broke for offensive futility were like Josh McDaniels led St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
I think Josh McDaniels is a good coach, a good coordinator.
I think he is too.
But the system stays the same, and it gets probably more old school because they probably go back to 21 with the fullback, and they'll have Jakob Johnson here next year again, and like that's it's what that's kind of in line with Vrabel, right? Of what
I
we
would just
think
like
he
to
would
try
do
to do it different.
Yeah.
And Mike, to your point, and I don't think you're wrong about Vrabel. I like Vrabel. Probably not as much as you do, but I like Vrabel a lot.
Yeah.
And I do think that he knows how to coach, and I do think he knows how to motivate. My personal feeling is just that I feel like he will try to build it in a way that I don't think you can go where you want to go.
Yeah.
You can
But-
win games.
Yeah.
I think that they would win games. So I'm not like this
No,
is
I hear what
this
you're
is
saying.
yeah.
I-
It's
but I mean,
really
just-
not much
yeah.
of an argument because I love Vrabel so much.
But again, all I'm saying about Josh McDaniels is that Kraft could be confident that he isn't going anywhere. No one's giving him a head coaching job. And so then I can bring in a guy like Vrabel because he doesn't have to worry about the offense and he doesn't have to worry about his coordinator leaving.
The thing that I'm struggling with this,
Same
though,
thing with Mayo.
is I feel like this puts the cart in front of the horse. This assumes that not only we're going to get a quarterback and an offensive coordinator that are good, but that they're going to have a ton of success, and that it's going to be so good that someone's going to want to plug him. Like that's great, but I can't just assume. Like I have to hire from a point of we have to put the best. And if it is successful, okay, that's going to happen to every team. They're going to get picked, but to try to make this hire with saying we have to ensure, like, what if the guy sucks? You can't go anywhere for 5 years. Well, what if he sucks and he has to stay here for 5 years? You don't know.
I know.
You don't know.
Well, and now you're making the case for hiring a head coach who was also offensive minded.
No, I don't care about that. I feel
because-
like you have a coach that's flexible and can look. The other offensive people exist. Like they changed coordinators with Lamar. They tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah,
it didn't
they did.
work.
All the things you're saying
But-
are accurate, Mike.
But
I'm not
you
arguing.
just have to show an openness, and I think the problem is that when we're kind of used to being closed-minded with the coaching staff, that it can only be 3 different guys that have all been the offensive coordinator before. That if you have a coach that is a little bit
He's
more
not wrong
open-minded,
about that either.
Very valid.
you can make moves, and if it is that great of a program that you've established, you're going to say, "Great, now we're going to give our quarterbacks coach."
And if
maybe
you
it
ask
doesn't
me
work like it
like
does in
one
Buffalo.
thing, about all of this that's bothering me the most, it's the last thing that Mike just said. Like, we can't even talk about a guy for the GM who's never crossed paths with Foxborough, and I just think that you're so limiting yourself by not looking at all options. And at least with Vrabel, he hasn't coached here before, but every single guy who's been brought up has either coached here in the past or been part of the personnel department in the past. And I just have to think there are more ways to do this than just with guys that you
And people
work-
say, oh, well, Vrabel's
employed.
not really under the Belichick tree. He played enough under Belichick that his coaching style got influenced by
and that's
Belichick,
why I don't want him.
Yeah, to me,
I would
he's
just keep Bill.
He's enough for the Patriots, but he's not. Like I feel like Vrabel's not going to try to be Bill. Vrabel is just going to be Vrabel, the same guy.
Well, you
that
know
he
that
is,
he's
you
his
know?
own man.
He is his own
Even
man.
while he was here,
So
he would give it
That
back
is
to Bill.
accurate.
He's got a little of that Patriots,
Yeah.
shine on him that we all saw why, but it's not the. He's just been sitting in here doing it Bill's way the whole time. Certainly that influenced him, but what's wrong with that? I mean, we all think Bill's a great coach. I mean, so he's had a chance to work with different people. I mean, I'm open to it. I think to me, him with Mayo gets promoted to the DC, keep that defensive continuity. Those guys had some crossover, and then you really have to think about the offensive side of the ball and put probably a new staff into place. I would listen to arguments for let Bill O'Brien clean house and redo it his way. I might even listen to McDaniels on that. My preference would be to have an all-new offensive staff.
Well, I agree with you a lot of your points, Mike, and I think the big thing too with Vrabel, along with the familiarity with the organization, with the fan base, he's been a head coach before for years now, and I think that the succession from Belichick, it's just a little bit cleaner to have somebody that's been in the chair before than to have a Gerard Mayo or a Ben Johnson or somebody like that that's just never done it before. That's a difficult situation to step into as a brand new head coach, is you're replacing Bill Belichick. And to your point, Vrabel's, I sometimes call it ego, but his personality is he's so like comfortable in his own skin that I don't think he's going to be rattled by the fact that he's Bill's successor. I don't think that's going
he's got a way to
matter
do it.
to him.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing, he's only 48 years old. So, that I think Bill's age is a really big factor in all of this. He's 71 years old. You're drafting a quarterback, you think, at 3rd overall that you're hoping is going to be the quarterback for the next 10 years. How long is Bill Belichick going to coach that quarterback for?
That's my thing.
Whereas with Vrabel, he could coach that quarterback for the next 10 years if all goes well. So there's a lot of good arguments. I think Arthur Smith is a good offensive coach, too, that has worked with him in the past, like I mentioned.
Oh, that's a good call, yeah.
Maybe he just got fired by the Falcons. Maybe he's somebody that comes on the staff or maybe even is the offensive coordinator, and that is different. Arthur Smith is more from the West Coast tree and does run things differently offensively. So I think that there's some different things that you would get from Vrabel, and I'm not totally out on it. I would probably prefer Fred's route of the offensive-minded guy, but for the Crafts, I can see why this would just be a home run hire to them.
Yeah.
All right.
It's the same pattern, too, of what Pete Carroll was, of what Bill was. Guy who's coached before, has some cachet. Same kind of pattern.
Paul whispered to me that he's hungry, so we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Get in on the action with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots. New customers can download the DraftKings app now and play free for millions in prizes using code PATS. That's code PATS, only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
iPhone 15 Pro on Verizon.
This holiday, trade in any iPhone in any condition for the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All on us with Unlimited Ultimate. Go to your local Verizon store now. 6 months of Apple One, then $10 per month. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on Unlimited Ultimate plan required. Less $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Apple TV 4K and Apple One offers require eligible phone purchase with activation on Unlimited Ultimate. Additional terms and conditions apply. Visit Verizon.com for details.
What's up, everybody? Maddie here. Bill Belichick spoke with the media yesterday. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
All right, thank you. Well, I'll kind of follow up a couple things from yesterday. As I said, it was obviously a very disappointing season all the way around. Players, coaches, staff, organization, everybody's not anywhere close to what our standard and expectations are. So, obviously things need to be fixed. Proud of the way the players and the team competed, but not the results, obviously, from any of us. Start with me and, all the way down to everybody else that was involved in it. I know we all feel the same way. So I'm under contract, do what I always do, which is, every day I come in, work as hard as I can to help the team in whatever way I can. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. Today was kind of the wrap-up day for us with the players. We'll have a meeting with them and then go from there. So as far as any decisions or direction or anything like that for next year, is way too early for that. End of the year process is I don't think will be fundamentally any different from a the standpoint of how it's done. The decisions, that's a whole nother conversation, but how it's done, I'll meet with Robert like I always do, meet with the staff, meet with the personnel department, kind of recap the season, look at the big picture, and then look at some of the individual situations that are, looming one way or another. But that's, obviously a long way off from where we are right now. And so we'll start, at the end of the day, putting the pieces back together in terms of, setting things up to go through a good detailed analysis and to kind of, start a reconstruction, if you will.
We have more hands raised than we're going to have time for questions. I'm going to ask everyone to just ask one question. We'll move on to the next. If we get through the cycle here, we'll go back to you, but in all likelihood, we won't get all the way through this. We're going to start, and I'd ask you to turn on your cameras when you ask the question, and I'm going to start with Mike Reese, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, Bill. I'm curious, how do you view the Patriots' current culture as established by ownership in terms of setting a coach up to succeed?
Yeah, well, as I just said, I think we'll evaluate everything and take a course that we feel like collectively all puts us on the best path of success.
Next question, Andrew Callahan, followed by Chris Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Bill. You've mentioned your meeting with Robert Kraft. When is that scheduled for?
Yeah, I'll leave all that out, Andrew. Because might be a series of meetings. I don't know. We'll deal with that internally.
We'll go to Chris Ryan, followed by Dan Roach.
Morning, Bill. Obviously, 2 years ago, this was a playoff team and appeared to be, ascending. In your view, how did the franchise get to this point, and what are the deficiencies that you're looking at initially to clean up heading into next season?
Right. Well, that's what I just talked about, Chris. We'll take a look at everything, both the current situation, the current year, and if there's a trend or whatever we feel like we can do collectively as an organization. Again, it's the same thing we've always done, just organizationally, figure out where we're going, what's our best path to get there, and look at the previous results, which obviously this year weren't very good, and to chart a course to into the future.
Thank you.
Dan Roach, followed by Josh Brigadier.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, Dan.
Just a thought on what you were saying is how much, one day after the season, but how much do you want to be here to fix this? And you often talk about your passion for coaching still being there. How much does that all factor into you just, want to get this right here in New England after the year that you guys just had?
Yeah, well, Dan, I just opened with that. And I'm going to do everything I can every day to do the best I can to help our football team. That's what I've always done. It's never been any different for me in my career. I learned that lesson from my dad growing up. You work for the team that you're working for and do the best you can for it until somebody tells you different. So that's not going to change.
Josh Brigadier, followed by Doug Hyde. Josh, are you there?
You can hear me okay, Bill. Good morning. Wondering if you've given any serious thought to relinquishing the personnel, maybe some of the draft responsibilities, and coaching the team, which you were saying yesterday is something you still really want to do.
Yeah, I'm for whatever, collectively we decide as an organization is the best thing to help our football team. And, I have multiple roles in that, and I rely on a lot of people to help me in those responsibilities. If somebody's got to have the final say, I have it. I rely on a lot of other people to help, and, however that, whatever that process is, I'm only part of it.
Thank you.
Hyde, followed by Dakota Randall.
Good morning, Bill. Have you received any indication from ownership that your future as head coach is up in the air?
Yeah, I told you, I'm here to work as hard as I can to help our team every day. That's what I'm going to do.
Dakota Randall, followed by Zach Cox.
Hey, Bill. With the season now over, I'm just wondering if you could offer an updated assessment of Mac Jones and whether you think he can be a starting quarterback in this league.
Yeah, as I said, we'll go through our offseason evaluations and all that right now. It's less than 24 hours after the Jets game, and that's where all my focus was up until 4 o'clock yesterday.
Cox, followed by Tyler Bronski.
Good morning, Bill. Now that the season is over, do you have any regrets about the way you assembled this team, or do you think the struggles were more due to injuries and bad breaks and things like that?
I think we have some things that we can build on. I think there's some things that we need to fix and change.
Tyler Bronski, followed by Mark Daniels.
Bill, when players reflect on playing for you this season, after a tough year all around, what do you hope they say about you?
Yeah. Well, look, we're all disappointed in the season, so that's, I already talked about that. And, as I said, every day I've come to work here and everywhere else I've worked, done the best that I could each and every day to help our football team. So that's what I've done.
Mark Daniels, followed by Karen Gredian.
Good morning, Bill. In the event you are no longer the coach of the Patriots, would you be interested in coaching for another team in the NFL?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into a lot of hypothetical situations.
Karen Gredian, followed by Ben Volen.
Good morning, Bill. Would it surprise you in any way if Robert Kraft decided that moving on from you would be best for the football team?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on what I am going to control and focus on, and that's, my work ethic and my, effort to do what I can to help the Patriots organization, which I'm heavily invested in.
Thank you.
Try to get in these last 4 questions and give everybody a chance to ask one. So it's Ben Volen, Phil Perry.
Morning, Bill. Your handling of Mac Jones this year was pretty unusual. He got benched 4 times and still started the next week 3 of them. And then yesterday he was made the 3rd string quarterback. I was wondering if you could explain just why the handling of Mac Jones this year. Why was he getting his job back, the starting job back so many times? Then why was he made 3rd string yesterday?
Yeah, we've talked about it, Ben. I wouldn't characterize it anywhere close to the way you have. We've covered that before, so we'll deal with everything else going forward.
Perry, followed by Duke Castiglione. Phil, are you there? Come back to Phil. Duke Castiglione, followed by Michael Hurley.
Good morning, Bill. Just to follow up on that personnel question. If Robert came to you and said, I just want you to coach the football team, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I just answered that question, dude.
We'll go Michael Hurley and then give Phil Perry another chance.
Hey, Bill, I know you're asked something similar, but when you go back to April, May, June, heading toward training camp, did you think this team, as constructed with the roster and the coaching staff, was built to contend for a playoff spot and maybe a championship?
Yeah, well, the moves that we made, given the options that we had, we felt like we did what was best for the football team. Each time, obviously, the results aren't good. Some of those things were, I think, positive. Some of them didn't work out as well as we hoped they would. There were other circumstances in some of the other decisions as well. So we'll go back and look at all of them and again, look forward to, working towards, solutions and things that will improve our team.
Phil Perry, check your audio again.
If you can hear me now, Bill, I'm on Nicole's.
We've got you.
Thank you. Bill, I just wanted to clarify something with you. There's been a lot of reporting that you and Robert have not met during the course of the season. Is that true? Is it just that you haven't met to talk about your future? How frequently have you guys been in communication over the course of the season?
We met during the season.
And have they given the public nature of the discussion around the team and you specifically?
So are we doing the follow-ups here, Stacey? I don't understand what's the answer to the question.
Just wondering if he's given you any indications about your future, because there's been so much discussion about it, Bill.
Yeah, I've answered that question 3 times, Phil.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx. And with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
I remember one game, our other editor, Brian Morey, was out for some reason or something. Paul had to do like everything himself.
I don't think he was out. He was writing a book.
Oh. And,
I was frazzled that
as
week.
the night progressed, like a different article of clothing would come off. By the end of the night,
he's totally right.
Paul's in his undershirt. I swear to God, he's sweating.
Like a
he's
tie
red.
wrapped around his head.
He's just trying to get everything done. It was like,
thanks a lot, Brian.
Yeah.
Fred exaggerates a lot of things about me. He is not exaggerating.
He's in his
one
boxers
ounce
and his
of this
underwear.
story.
Like,
man.
Oh my God.
That's another great moment from
There's no time like playoff season to score big on the latest recliners, entertainment centers, and sofas from Bob's. Revamp your rec room ahead of the big game with everything you need to sit back, relax, and snack your way through the Super Bowl. Make every Sunday a Super Sunday with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. We did have breaking news during the show, but it was Mike Vrabel being fired from the Tennessee Titans, and of course, like any other free agent that comes in the market, Patriots fans immediately say,
Patriot?
Yeah, he's going to be on this team.
I'm curious what the overall sentiment is from the fan base, especially those who maybe weren't as invested in 01, 03, 04, those early years when really Mike Vrabel made his, like we have a special place for him, but I wonder how a lot of the 2010s fans feel about that. Probably
all
not.
Patriots fans have been on board since week 3 of 2001.
Oh, right.
Like that's. Yeah.
Well, but speaking of, truthfully though, because I won't tell you how old I was when they won back then, but I was not very old, right? So like really I identify with the 2010s teams, Gronkowski, Edelman, obviously Brady was both, but Vrabel to me, it was all about leadership, right? Like I didn't really know enough about football to know like what he was good at it football wise, but he was always one of those like no nonsense like locker room police like type of guys that like you just felt like the locker room was gonna never be out of hand with guys like Vrabel and guys like McGinnis and guys like Harrison, like Brewski, in that locker room. And I feel like that's how he kind of coaches too. Where even if they're not a very good team, like this year, at least they're doing the right things as an organization with him.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the phones, get everybody involved here. Patty's in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, guys? I'll make it quick because I know my band's loud. Fred, real quickly, if Hardy didn't want to honor that lifetime contract, the girl that does the music, you have to offer a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
And just going to what Bill said yesterday in his press conference, I felt like he was contrite a little bit. But just kind of like what Paulie brought up, like I feel like he fired some preemptive strikes across the media at Kraft. Like I'm under contract, and like maybe I'm reading too much into things. But when he said collectively, to me, I think that's why you're seeing some of these retreads, like McDaniels or Cappioli's name pop up. Like what, I'll agree to give up some power, but it's going to be on my terms. And at this point, still, I think the best position is just to move on, and that's all I got. I'll listen to the rest of the show off the air. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Patty. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that what he said was calculated.
Everybody heard the "I'm under contract" line.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, I think, the siren to everyone. I mean, anything you turned on the radio yesterday, that's what they were talking about. It was, certainly by design. I mean, it's absolutely.
It was by design, but I also thought that it did address the elephant in the room right off the top, which is that there is a question of whether or not he's going to be the head coach here next year. Like last year, he's not talking about those types of things because there's no doubt that he's going to be the head coach.
Right.
And I thought after the game on Sunday, even when he said, as for the future, Robert and I will meet like we always do and yada, yada, yada. He didn't say that at the end of press conference last year or 2 years ago, right? Like
And just to add a little context to that, I don't know what the timing was exactly, but there's actually a possibility that when he had the season ender last year that he wasn't under contract.
Yeah.
I mean, based on some of these reports, when they added a year, like I don't know if he was already under contract or if it was a 2-year extension or what. Who knows? I think it was probably already under contract and they added a year to that.
Right.
I mean, but it's kind of unclear, like because the original Rappaport was multiple years, right?
Right.
That's, I think, the first time I ever heard the word contract come out of his mouth. That wasn't,
Right.
I'm not going to talk about my contract like that. And he,
That's
volunteered
true.
it. Like you've never heard him bring that up.
It was him acknowledging his mortality, that like he could be fired, like he might not be here. And I thought that the GM comment, I kind of agree with Paul. That's not exactly what he said, but those comments, I felt like he just kind of
he was letting you know, I'm under contract. I'm going to do what I always do.
Until the key card doesn't work anymore.
Right? He's acknowledging that there's a chance that they're going to tap him on the shoulder and say, okay, you don't need to be watching that film with that college kid anymore.
Right. The other thing he said that I thought was interesting, he said, we'll have a series of meetings.
Yeah.
And the way I took that is whatever they're doing, it's not going to be settled in one meeting. This is going to be complicated.
Yeah. Well, as it is for all the reasons we've laid out.
But now it is today uncomplicated.
For Kraft, maybe, yeah. I don't know.
You mean like Vrabel?
Yeah, now that he's, you know.
Oh, I mean, I would hope not. I would hope the Vrabel thing has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not thinking he's going to, like, he's going to fire him, but he wasn't
Just 'cause
going
Vrabel,
to?
yeah.
Like, I would hope that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would rather just keep Bill.
Yeah, I feel
You're
like
gonna do it that way.
The series of meetings are one or two things. Either they're mapping out how Bill can stay, but we can still have major changes to the organization with Bill because there has to be changes.
Right.
Or they're mapping out the exit strategy of how we're going to present this to the public that you're leaving.
And either way can be complicated.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Let's go to Manny in New Bedford. What's up, Manny?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Two quick things. One, I'm not really sold on Bill leaving this year. I feel like Kraft isn't really trying to start all over for the second time again. And number two, how would you guys feel if Nick Caserio was still around and he was able to kind of make that final say on like player personnel? Do you feel like Patriots would be kind of like a playoff contender team? Thanks, guys.
Okay, so I think what he's saying is if Nick had final say, would the team be better?
I think Nick drafted N'Keal Harry.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but this was like mini news, so I didn't really, not Vrabel big.
Yeah.
But he went on a radio show in Houston and went scorched earth on the report that he would come back to New England.
Yeah.
So I don't think Nick Caserio is not an option.
No, I don't
back
think
to
it
the
is either.
Patriots.
Why would he leave? But is that what he's saying?
I'm just putting
he
it
was
out
saying
there.
if he was still here and
Yeah.
he was drafting.
Right.
I still think I credit and blame Bill for all of these moves.
Yeah,
Like
even
the ones that work, I credit Bill. The ones that don't, I blame Bill.
Yeah.
I don't pick and choose.
It's the best way to operate, but I can't help but think, how much does Nick Caserio have? How much does Matt Groh have? Like, how much are they setting the table for what Bill picks? No
Exactly.
question. We blame Bill. I totally agree
To Evan's
with Paul.
point, I think Caserio probably had a lot to do with Harry.
But
So,
it's hard to parse
it's a
out
bad
from
pick.
the outside. But you don't really blame Caserio and say I don't want him back because of that.
Yeah.
Because it probably was filtered through Bill as well. But, he's still part of
But
the
I do
process.
think he was part of an uninspired series of drafts.
Same with the last few.
Well,
Same with the last few.
I know it's further back in terms of the draft history of Belichick, but the whole Rutgers era, I sincerely doubt these scouts lined up these Rutgers players and said, "Bill, you need to draft these guys."
Right.
That was all Bill.
It's like, what's it down here, Rutgers? Yeah.
Well,
They all work.
I always, the way I feel like it works with the draft, with the front office is I kind of imagine Deuce and I make our big boards, and then you hand the big boards to Bill, and then Bill is like, I want that guy, and then we're I kind of like this guy better, and he's like,
no.
Well, I watched all 50 of the guys you told me to watch, and I like this guy the best, and that's the guy we're taking.
Right.
Yeah.
And that.
Meanwhile, AJ Brown wasn't on the list. I mean, stupid
Right,
example, but you know what I mean.
but-
Somebody got left off. We wouldn't.
Right, but in 2019, I had N'Keal Harry on my big board.
Yeah.
I would have taken A.J. Brown over N'Keal Harry, but I acknowledge the fact that N'Keal Harry was a first, mid-first, second-round guy that was a fit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I watched it and said, I kind of like A.J. Brown a little bit better, Deebo Samuel a little bit better, and they watched it and said that they liked N'Keal Harry. And at the time, you can't kill them for it because they were all kind of clustered in that one little area. But now in hindsight, it's like, oh wow, that was a horrible pick.
Okay, but how do you explain Cole Strange?
Yeah, I was going to say I'll give you an honest assessment. I didn't hate the pick. I didn't hate the Harry pick when they made it. I didn't hate it.
No, nobody hated it, but
and that's where he was projected to go.
Yeah, but a lot of people said that then he's got separation problems, and that was.
Oh yeah, I mean there would have been other guys I would have chosen, but I didn't hate the pick because that's where everybody thought he was going to go.
But I think
late first, early second.
I think the problem with Bill is that the scouts will say, okay, here are our 6 tackles, our 6 tight ends that we think are good, and these are the ones you should look at, Bill. And so he sits down and looks at it, but he doesn't stop at oh, this guy's the best. It's they're all about the same. Oh, but this guy comes from a program whose coach I like. We'll take him.
Absolutely not.
See, but I'll tell you what else
and
I think he does.
And then the scouts are pulling their hair out.
But I'll tell you what else I think he does.
We ranked these guys for you, and you're taking the 6th ranked guy instead of the 1st ranked.
So
Bill's they're close enough.
The other thing I think that he does in particular and believes strongly, and he's had some success with it, is that he'll take that group and and all of a sudden the pick will come up and all 6 of them will be available, he won't take any of them.
He'll trade down.
Yeah.
Because now he says,
I can get the same guy
They're
later.
all the same. Why should I take him at 50 when I can get him at 70?
No. And
one of those 6 will still be available at 70. I just think that's the wrong way to go about it.
I don't completely disagree with that if it's true, but I think the scouts pull their hair out because they don't think that that's true.
I know. Bill thinks it's true.
I know.
But recent, not that recent anymore, Mike, easy. 10 years will tell you that he hasn't really been right with that,
No, I know.
that strategy.
But I think overall, that strategy to me makes sense. If you've got a group of guys that you all think are the same, you can get any one of them later. It makes sense to pick up more
But
assets.
I think most people would tell you they're never the same.
No, somebody's your favorite.
Someone's better.
Yeah.
Someone's better than the others.
Someone is better than the others, but I think that their issue also too is just they've drafted more on need recently at the top of the draft than I feel like they used to. Like immediate, what's our biggest need on the depth chart?
Yeah.
And to go back to the Cole Strange thing, in 2022, they felt like guard was the biggest need on the depth chart. Like if we had to play a game tomorrow, our biggest hole on this roster is guard. And either Bill liked Cole Strange the best, or they had a couple guards had already come off the board. Zion Johnson, some other players had already come off the board. So maybe they had Cole Strange as like the 3rd or 4th best guard in the draft. And even though they might have had a 2nd-round grade on him, they drafted him anyway.
Where did Cole Strange go to school? Chattanooga,
UT
Tennessee.
Chattanooga.
Yeah,
Tennessee. Tennessee.
There's not a lot of Bill ties to UT Chattanooga.
No, but there's ties to Tennessee.
Just because the whole state?
I'll bet you
the whole store got the flu?
I'll bet you he met the head coach.
Oh, God.
I'll bet he's met a lot of head coaches. He doesn't draft guys from every one of them.
He loves Elvis.
Tennessee.
Big Elvis.
Where's the Arkansas high school guy nowadays?
Oh, yeah, the no
The
punts
guy
guy.
that doesn't punt.
You got to ask Hunter
He
Henry.
loves that guy.
Yeah, right.
To get back to Vrabel, a lot of people are sharing the quotes from his Patriots Hall of Fame ceremony, and you do wonder, with this statement from the Titans about collaborative and all this stuff, like him coming here, sitting in the owner's box with Robert Kraft, and then gushing about the Patriots organization and saying that it's not like this everywhere else. Like those types of shots that he was taking at the Titans, I feel like might have set the stage for all of this.
Especially the only other places is Ohio State and Tennessee.
Yeah.
Other than
Houston,
the Patriots.
yeah.
Houston.
And Houston, right. You're right.
Yeah.
So let's go to Melvin in Tennessee. What's up, Melvin?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
Do you know Bill Belichick?
Does Bill talk to you?
Unfortunately, I don't. I haven't. Unfortunately,
You give him a piece of your mind.
Sweet kid. You could draft better.
Oh, no, I'll leave that to Eldridge. I got a quick. I'm gonna change the subject for a second. I was wanting to know which one of the number 1 seeds in the playoffs do you feel like has more, I guess, more pressure on them? Would you all feel like the Ravens have more with the MVPs and all that pressure come with Lamar in this most recent game, but the 49ers have been knocking at the door for a while. So
yeah,
I feel San Francisco. Yeah.
You say San Francisco?
I think there's a lot of individual pressure on Lamar Jackson, but like Harbaugh's already a made man. He's already won a Super Bowl. Like I don't know if there's necessarily pressure on the organization, but Lamar has a ton of pressure to succeed in the playoffs. He hasn't had a playoff run. He's won one playoff game in his career, and it was against like a bad. Was it the Titans? It might have been the Titans. It was against a bad team. Do
you feel Brock Purdy has any pressure that he puts on himself to prove that I can do this in the biggest stage?
Yeah, I think both.
And Evan is wrong.
I think both of the 1 seeds. By the way, an offensive explosion without him last week. I think both 1 seeds have a lot of pressure. I agree with both Melvin and Evan. I just feel like Shanahan has been like considered the wonderkind for like how long?
Yeah.
I mean, how long without winning anything?
Right.
Like everybody says they have the model franchise. They have all the talent in the world. They have all the elements in place. And on top of all that, they have this just outside-the-box wonderful thinker who's never won anything.
Yeah.
I think there's more pressure on San Francisco.
I so agree. Especially
Jimmy
even
G hits that pass in the Super Bowl. He's won something.
Right.
At least the 49ers, if they come up short of the Super Bowl,
And if my aunt
it'll be
had
considered
balls,
a failure.
it should be,
You
right?
know,
My uncle.
they have to at least get to the Super Bowl.
I just remember with those Patriots teams, like you have to make the most of when you have this much talent together in one place. And if you don't win the Super Bowl, everyone's going to forget about you. And I mean,
they don't have it at quarterback.
Rubber stamp everything Paul said, but
a lot of pressure.
it's just for the organization. Like, it's next year you might have Christian McCaffrey he's a free agent anyway, isn't he? Or maybe not for a couple years, but a couple of those guys. I think
they're gonna eventually they're gonna lose
and
some guys because they're just gonna want to get.
They'll
big
lose
money.
some guys on the edges, right? Like I'm sure they'll be able to retain all the stars if they pay for it, but it's gonna be the whoever's the Jelani Tavai of the 49ers, like those types of players.
As
are
the $1 million man says, everybody's got a price.
Yeah.
Like you can't just pay you can fit them all in if you want.
Right.
But you can't just
like
pay.
if you're paying
Everybody's
Fred
got
Warner,
a budget.
Like is just Dre Greenlaw become a guy that goes
Someone,
elsewhere? Or something
they're
like
going to
that.
lose pieces.
Thanks, Melvin.
And I do think that Baltimore has a lot of pressure.
They do.
I think the Lamar thing is real, and Harbaugh is real. Like Harbaugh, that was 2012. It's a long time ago that he won.
Yeah.
Todd's in North Carolina. What's up, Todd?
Hey, guys. Hey, Bill, do us the solid. I read Evan's article, and I was watching the play on the field for the last game, and it just looked like the defense was kind of vanilla. It didn't look like they did too much, and the offense was kind of the same way. It looked like they were just showing up, punching their cards in. A couple guys may have been trying, but even you guys said by halftime you couldn't pick out anybody for your good list for the post-game show. So did maybe they just pull back?
Fairness, I couldn't pick out anybody for my bad list either.
I don't know if you heard. Did you hear the beginning of the show, Todd?
Pardon me?
Yeah. Did you hear the beginning of the show?
Unfortunately, no. I was queued up to
Yeah,
pick up
so-
my son because of early dismissal, so I apologize.
No,
if I missed
so
your
Evan
topic,
did
so
address it,
discuss.
and he agrees with you. He thought that the defense in particular.
Yeah, not offense.
Yeah, the defense.
They threw the ball 37 times.
Yeah, looked like they were a little bit too vanilla for his liking. And
Right.
And I like
And
vanilla
you
ice
said
cream,
that
I
in
have to
this
say.
article.
Yeah.
Now, my other question is, what about the Harbaugh with Michigan? Would you touch him, or is there just too much baggage with?
Oh, I would, but he's not coming here.
Yeah.
No.
I think that the problem with Harbaugh that I find interesting for the Patriots is if he were to come here, the amount of people that he would want to hire. College teams don't run like NFL teams. Like college teams, their coaching staffs are like 50 people, right? And it would be so different from what it is now, where Bill has like the smallest coaching staff in the NFL and the smallest front office in the NFL. It would be a completely different operation totally. And is that something that they would really want to do?
I would do it in a blink. I don't think he'd have any
All up to
interest in
Robert,
coming here.
Okay.
But I do
All right,
think
thanks,
that I do think the Chargers and Raiders. I would keep an eye on those two.
Does his offense concern you like Vrabel's?
Who? Harbaugh? Harbaugh has been great with a whole bunch of different offenses.
Yeah, I think he's innovative.
He's had a whole bunch of different kinds of offenses. Right now at Michigan, he runs a ground-oriented attack. That's not what he ran in San Francisco. It's not what he ran at Stanford.
Right. Marty in Reno writes in at webradio@patriots.com. Any chance of you guys setting up a webcam so Patriots fans can see the white smoke from the top of the stadium lighthouse tower when the Crafts make a decision on Bill?
I saw Brian Hydes make one of those jokes. That's pretty good.
We've been making that joke,
Yeah.
so he stole it.
Oh, did he? Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. It's been a group joke.
Also, was I the only one surprised that the refs didn't call Adult Protective Services on the Michigan defense for the abuse and hits they dished out on the elderly Penix last night?
Those guys are tough. I like them.
Yeah, it was a tough night for Penix.
That Michigan defensive coaching staff too. So the Ravens defensive coordinator McDonald was their defensive coordinator before, and then he went to the NFL. Now he's probably going to be a head coach in the NFL. And now their current defensive coordinator is getting talked about as a head coaching candidate also.
Poor
So
Don Brown.
I was just going to say. And my Northeastern guy, Don Brown.
But they run a really
UMass.
like really modern exotic pressure system.
You got to have smart guys like my Everett defensive backs. Sandra Still.
He made a play last night.
A
right?
play.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
unbelievable.
He's all over the place.
It's an unbelievable tackle on that third down too earlier in the game.
I saw that one.
Solomon in the Bay
Josiah
Area.
Stewart also from Everett.
Solomon in the Bay Area. To say it was disappointing season is an understatement. If you told me this team would not make the playoffs, I would believe it 5 months ago. But if you told me this team would only win 4 games, I would have fallen out of my chair. I appreciate what Bill has done for the team. 6 Super Bowls would not have happened without him, but his personnel decisions have been disastrous. My feeling on the status of Bill is the longer we do not hear from the organization on parting ways, the more likely he's going to be the Patriots head coach next season. And when I read the McDaniels rumor, I just laughed out loud.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't that kind of like obviously if they don't announce that he's not coming back, the chances
he's going to just keep staying until they announce it, right?
Like the longer it takes,
he's still here.
He's still here.
Shadi from Houston, why is this organization run like a top secret federal agency? No one ever knows anything, and everything is always mysterious. Season is over, and other teams are already setting up interviews with GMs and head coaches, while we have no clue what the next step will be. I understand Bill's obsession with the art of war and books about war, but can we just be a normal sporting franchise for 1 week?
Well, to be fair, these other teams, like firing Arthur Smith is not the same as firing Bill Belichick, right?
Mhm.
Like, so in terms
But
of
why?
like, because it just isn't.
But
Like,
why?
Because he's the greatest coach of all time.
I know, but if you're gonna fire him, just fire him. Like why? Like I don't
Do it
understand.
nicely. Say it nicely.
If you want to keep him, then announce
It's-
it that you're keeping him.
you-
Like
it's-
I get it.
it's
Like
way
one way or
more-
the other.
It's way more complicated than that.
I don't
I just
think it should be.
I think we're day 2.
I
There's
think
still-
we complicate things. That's what we do.
I don't know. I understand that it's like the optics and the fact that it has to be at least handled correctly. Like fire, I
But don't
understand
you
why
think all
we
of that
didn't wake
stuff
up.
should have been put in place? Like whatever your decision should have been.
Maybe Bill said I want to finish out coaching the team, and like I'm not gonna get into this right now. I don't know. Like
Okay.
if there's like we woke up at 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and the Falcons had announced that they fired Arthur Smith. I understand why the Patriots didn't do that for the greatest coach of all time that won 6 Super Bowls for the organization. I can understand that.
If they're keeping him, I understand it.
Both
Yeah.
ways.
But I don't
No.
understand why you can't just
I
make an
mean,
announcement at 8 o'clock on Monday morning.
It was respectful to keep him the entire season long because honestly, after the Saints game or even after Germany, most coaches would have been fired with that whole situation that was happening. And so for me, it's like you had all season long to prepare this like cute letter to the fans, letter to the whole statement. You had all season long to.
I would argue if you want to keep him. Like I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Like
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that complicated. Like
It's not.
You've had all this time to sort of decide which way you want to go. And that, no, just let us know which
think
way
that
you decided.
The whole
Like, that's
football
all.
operations is him. Like the scouting staff, the personnel guys, the coaching staff. This like so. Burge, like there's like a million people that are affected by this.
I know,
and
but none of that has changed since you made your decision.
I'm just saying that the infrastructure, like laying an infrastructure of a football operations for 24 years, is a lot different than the Falcons for 3 with Arthur Smith.
It's a lot to unravel.
That's why it didn't happen last year.
I think last year it didn't
that's why
happen.
you sent a letter to season ticket holders instead of making a drastic move.
Yeah.
I think it didn't happen last year because they gave him a mulligan. They said, "All right, you got 1 year."
Yep.
All right, and now you've had 1 year.
I
and it
agree.
was
I'm not
horrible.
disagreeing that the decision. I just understand why you have to handle it differently.
Well,
That's
and
all.
I also think Robert Kraft worries about PR.
Right, and I don't. I think that you should worry just about
Right.
what you think is
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
do the best you can. No one's perfect. None of us has ever gone through life without making mistakes, and no one's expecting Robert Kraft to be any more perfect than anybody else.
Yeah, but you don't want to be cold with this guy.
But it's not cold, Fred. I think it's actually if you in fact move on, isn't it better for him to just like no? Like that's not. I don't think that's cold at all.
No.
And I think it's better for like his support staff who was sitting
Yes.
here in limbo. Like, okay, should I be selling my house? Should I
To
be
Evan's
interviewing
point,
for
there's a
jobs?
lot
Like,
of people like
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
People
and
who
they
have
all deserve to know
families.
as quickly as
Yeah.
they can.
So then they
which
can
is
start
why I
interviewing.
think the Raiders allowed, back to that Carmen Priscillo thing, they allowed him to interview with another job, even though it's a lateral move.
Yeah.
He's the offensive line coach for the Raiders, and they're allowing him to interview for the Giants for the same position because there's uncertainty as to what's going to happen with the Raiders.
I just think that I said earlier that it's one of two things. Either they're trying to hash out an exit strategy or they're trying to hash out how they can keep Bill and make changes.
Right.
And that's why I wonder if it's the keep Bill and make changes is we're still trying to figure out, is that even feasible? Like, how would that look? What would be Bill's pitch? What would be ownership's pitch? And is there a middle ground there that we actually think could work? That in that I don't think would have been hashed out when they're game planning for the Bills. Like I just don't whether they needed to win the game or not is besides the point. Like that's deep. Like you can't just like.
And I would just counter with, if he didn't want to talk about this because he was game planning with the Bills, then well I tried, Bill. I tried. So like again, Monday comes around.
Yeah.
You're more
I
tried.
land more on the side of the complication of whatever it will be, rather than like a respect factor of. I mean, I hear like as far as the respect, I find it respectful in a way to say, look, it's over. We're not going to drag you through the mud. But I think when we find out what is happening either way, it might be a little bit more clear. Wow, there were a lot of moving pieces for them to execute, whether he's staying, whether he's going, and that's why. Yeah. But it's Tuesday. I mean, you know,
I'm not out of my mind.
No,
yet.
I mean, you know, if we get to Friday and we're like, we don't know.
Paul
who
wants
the
to do
coach
the
is
show
or what.
on Thursday with an answer.
That's fair.
That's probably
fair.
accurate.
Yeah.
I
There
think
you
if the week went by and there was nothing, I think I would probably feel differently.
Yeah.
And just to re-up what Mike just said, like I know it probably doesn't sound it, but I have the utmost amount of respect for Bill Belichick, the coach. I really do. I know sometimes it probably doesn't sound that way, because I question some things that he does, and who am I to do that? And I get that, but I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that thinks more of him as a coach than I do, and I mean that. Like, I think he's a great coach, not overrated, not just good. He was a great coach for this team for 24 years.
Yeah.
John in California, I was firmly in the Bills got to go, let's tank school. But yesterday, Bill changed everything by doing what the entire PU team and everyone else said would never happen. He said he'll accept a different role to stay with the team.
Get him, Paul. Get him, Paul.
That's the game changer. And maybe it works. We all agree Bill is a great coach, terrible GM. Gerard Mayo has spearheaded a great defense. Pioli and McDaniels are circling. We have the number 3 draft pick for our franchise quarterback. So now there is an everyone wins redemption story option on the table. Bill is coach, Scott Pioli is GM, Josh is OC, Gerard is DC. The Crafts miraculously drawing on the old as they change to the new, and the Patriots instant contenders against a fading AFC East. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm in.
Fading AFC
Fading
East.
AFC East.
Yeah.
Pretty good football game on Sunday night between the real
two fading teams.
Yeah.
Can I just ask? I'll just repeat that Bill did not say what you said that he said. He said he'd be open to doing what's in the best interest of the team. He did not say he would be willing to give up his personnel powers.
Yeah. Well,
I'm also not interested
Is
in
that
coaching
someone's
with somebody
music?
else's players.
Wait, am I hearing someone's music play?
That would be yours.
Someone coming in?
Coming to us from the worldwide, what is it? WWE. What does that stand for? World Wrestling Entertainment. Is Megan Morant. What's up, Megan?
Hey. Oh my God! Hello, you guys. Is there anything going on this week?
No.
You tell us.
Quiet post-season week in Foxborough. Huh?
I was going to say, well, what spurred you to call today?
I mean, there's like nothing going on as it relates to the Patriots, so I figured you guys just needed someone to call in and spice things up.
Oh, yeah. You missed a good season, Meg.
No, this is when the season starts, dude. I am locked in on what's going on right now. I set an alarm yesterday to watch Belichick's presser.
So let me ask you a question. In the wrestling world, there's a thing called work. You're being worked. Are we being worked here, or is this a done deal? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I always think when it comes to the Patriots, I'm like, is this a work? Are they setting us up for something, right? I feel like Bill would be an amazing heel, don't you? And I kind of feel like he's always working us.
Yeah.
She's in the biz now.
Always.
Oh, yeah. So how's it going over there?
It's going great. I just did a show right now, and then I have like an hour before a production meeting. So I was tuning in to you guys because obviously we all want to know what's going to happen by Friday. Is Bill staying? Is he going? Who's going to be the next coach? Vrabel was just fired. I just feel like it's too obvious if we go Vrabel, right?
Oh, it
Way
is.
too obvious, Vrabel or Mayo. And then I'm like, am I seriously really believing right now that Bill Belichick's going to be out? Like, I believe it, but I won't totally believe it until it happens.
Right.
Did you watch many games this year? You might believe it.
Yeah.
I was Red Zone Meg this year. I saw DePaul every weekend.
Yeah.
And, Red Zoned it up.
What would your great aunt be saying about all this?
Oh, my grandmother?
Oh, your grandmother. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, she would be like, Jesus, you really think they'll let that man walk out? 6 Super Bowl titles. Oh, my God. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, he was the most accomplished coach in the NFL.
Hey, Nana, watch back-to-back possessions on offense and then get back to me.
Right.
So, what do you guys think is going to happen?
I mean, I think we're all, under the impression that the time has come. Yeah, and the Crafts agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But does it really happen?
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not, it's not like when you were here and they used to tell you stuff.
Megan, my thing is, like, I can't imagine that they haven't made a decision, and if they're going to keep him, why would they let him dangle out there for all this time? I mean, these rumors have been going on for a while, and all Robert Kraft would have had to do was say he's staying, and that would have ended it, but he didn't. So, that to me tells me that it's over.
And as Fred always tells us, watch what they do.
Right, and in
Not
this case,
what
they
they
didn't do
say.
anything. Yeah.
I think that's a poll.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, we are witnessing historic times, guys. So I just had to give you a buzz because we are all patiently awaiting the drop of something, right? I
Yep.
don't know when it's going to happen, but I imagine by Friday we'll know something.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in. It's good to hear your voice.
Thanks, Meg.
Say hi to A-Dog.
Miss you. Yeah. See you later. Megan from the WWE.
Megan.
The worldwide.
Winovich is the future
Megan,
of the
Moran,
New England
O'Brien,
Patriots.
Yeah, I don't know what last name to use for her, because she's not on air right now.
A couple Irish ones and one made-up one.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Called in as Morantz Connolly.
Morantz Connolly. All right. I mean.
I think she's back in the Northeast, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
A
She's
little
in Connecticut.
more on Vrabel that I feel like
Oh,
is
yeah.
relevant. The Titans believed, is from Diana Rossini, the Titans believed trading Vrabel was too complicated and would take too long. Per sources, they wanted to move on quickly. I was told Vrabel never asked ownership for a trade or asked out of Tennessee, but I thought it was interesting that they felt like trying to trade him, even if he had value, was going to take too long, and it kind of relates to they tried to trade Bill. Like, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Could you imagine, like, some I thought off the table now, but, like, I was wondering if there was a world where they trade
For each
coaches
other?
for each other. Like, you swap coaches. Has
Yeah.
that ever happened before?
I don't know.
No.
No, I don't know.
Kind of funny. Bill does like Tennessee, from what I've heard.
Sneaky.
Someone told you that?
Earlier in the show.
Sneaky negative deuce right there. Taking a shot at the boss.
It's all right.
It's all right. It's all right.
We'll see.
I'm not going to get mad.
I got something.
You
I'm
can
not
disagree
mad.
if you want.
I'm not mad.
This one's for Mike to
Thank you. There you go. That's a good. I like it.
It's honestly fantastic. I mean, it's really well
ridiculous.
done.
They're way,
It's
they're way
ridiculously
too
good.
talented to be wasting time making a show about me, but
ridiculously
song.
good.
The okay,
But thank
here
you.
we go, and it's
that was my favorite.
Unbelievable.
That was my favorite.
Really good.
That was some of my speechless.
That might be better than the Mike is back from practice.
Oh, of course
song.
it is. Come on, Fred. Of course
It might be better than that.
I'm willing to
It's
say
just
it's
newer.
better, and
Yeah.
that's my song.
It's just newer.
Yeah, it's newer.
I don't know. It's different.
Jonah says, I can appreciate Vrabel's defensive coaching acumen and tough team building ideology. However, that is going backwards. The Patriots need an offensive head coach if they move on from Bill, and should make Gerard DC if they can. Draft opinions. Drake May isn't good enough to be the Patriots quarterback, as NC State has shown the last 2 years. I acknowledge I'm biased. First pick should be a quarterback. If not, then it should be offensive tackle, even though we need a wide receiver. And he wants to know, which second wide receiver do you like? I'm a fan of Ibuka or Worthy.
Buka's from Ohio State. It's like a slot guy. Worthy's like this year's Zay Flowers, but like a little taller, a little bit bigger.
I'm not really coveting slot guys anymore this year.
Xavier Worthy is really, really talented
Good
player.
Good player. I mean, I like a lot of guys. I like a lot of those wide receivers, but most, you know me, you guys fixate on the slot guys.
I'm
I like
out
the
on that
playmakers
now.
on
Well,
the outside.
I feel like you got Pop, and I think
know.
that's enough.
I
You need an
consider
every down.
getting first downs, making a play. But
So I would
that's
say
just me.
like
That's just me.
Xavier Worthy is like more like a Z. He's not
Yeah,
like
that's
a
what we
pure
need.
like Welker slot. He's more like
Justin
a Z.
Jefferson doesn't get any first downs.
Right.
Well, Justin Jefferson plays the Z. So.
Yeah,
there
he
you
doesn't
go.
make any plays.
No, that's what I think. I mean, I don't know what the system's
Plays
going to
the
be.
Plays in the slot all the time.
The X, because the X.
He's not a slot receiver. He plays in the slot, yes, but he's not a slot receiver. He's not 5'2".
Right.
Yeah, Xavier Worthy is more not that I'm not comparing him to Justin Jefferson, but like the skill set and the way he would be used is more like a Justin Jefferson.
You need an every down guy, not a third down slot receiver. Like it's fine, Pop.
If only A.J. Brown someday develops into a guy who can get you a first down,
right?
Then we'd be all right.
I think ideally,
you need a guy.
right? Like ideally, you have Pop is really your what they would call your F. Like he's your pure slot, not necessarily an X or a Z, but the pure slot in the 3 receiver sets, and then X is T. Higgins, Z is a rookie or something like that.
Is there a position for every letter in the alphabet?
No.
Oh.
H is
X,
you know
Y,
H.
Z.
F in 3 receiver sets is your pure slot guy.
And
like
that doesn't that go back to like flanker?
Yeah. So
X is the split end.
X is the split end. Absolutely. Z is the move piece. Z is your chess piece.
That's what you need. You need a
zigzags.
No, because he plays off the line.
That's
of
a good
scrimmage
device
and
to
can move
remember
around.
it, though. He's going to be all over the place.
Exactly.
Run this way and that way, and then he'll even go back.
Yeah. Plays a little outside and a little inside.
That's what I want.
Anthony writes in,
kill
there's
me
a
now.
huge difference between Mike Vrabel as a coach and Bill as a head coach. Mike is under 50 and may have the ability to adapt and adjust his coaching style.
Absolutely, that's Mike's point.
Bill is old and have proven time and again he isn't willing to move off his old-time 70s football run and play D style. He is who he is. He isn't changing after all this time. He is an old, stubborn man who doesn't change, and when forced to, finds a way to make that not work, too. I'd be willing to give Vrabel a chance to show he understands modern football and can adapt. I'm not willing to see if Bill will.
It's a great email.
Wow.
That's a great email. That's Mike's point.
Joe writes in, first off, I love your show. I grew up a season ticket holder but haven't lived in Mass since 86 when I joined the Navy. Thank you for your service. I now live in Virginia, but I'm still 100% a Pats fan. I'm a first-time caller but a long-time listener to all your podcasts.
Cha-ching.
I haven't heard anyone talk about Josh McDaniels coming back and them keeping Mac Jones. Do you guys think this is an option? I could see them drafting an offensive tackle and a wide receiver as a priority and also signing an OT and wide receiver in the offseason with a better Mac, and it's still working.
Oh, God.
I'm with you until the last 3 words.
It's still working.
I think there's a possibility that you bring Josh back and he fits the suit. He's got the contract. You give 1 more year.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith it would work.
No, I'm with you too. I can't rule it out. And I also just, even if it was a new guy, like you have a quarterback in house, and like I totally agree with what you said, but like we're just not in a position where you're just casting guys off. And if a guy comes in who really liked Mac Jones and said, look, this guy's had a tough go, he needs to have the reset button reset. I think a lot of people think you're going to ship him to another team to let him reset, but if it's a whole new offensive staff, could that be a reset? And look, he doesn't win the job, you trade him in camp, something like that. Like I still think they probably send him and let him get a fresh start elsewhere.
My feeling is he'll want the fresh start, but you absolutely could say, well, if Bill's gone, that represents the fresh start for him.
Yeah, you want to compete? We got a starting job open.
He spoke on locker room cleanout day, and I thought that his comments I thought he was holding back quite a bit in his comments.
Yeah. He reminds me of Bill, and like he just says a whole bunch of nothing. Like everything he said was a bunch of quotes I can find on Google. Like it was a bunch of
AI generated.
I find my best success after my lowest fall. It's like I could find that on Google, on Pinterest quotes. Like everything he said was nothing to me.
Yeah.
But I just think that.
What about the 8 pounds of muscle?
Yeah, that was funny. The Mac Jones of it,
In like 3 weeks.
How
it was.
I just don't see. There's not enough there for me to be convinced that it would ever work again. Like Paul, like I just can't see that happening, and I think that you can delusion yourself into thinking that Marvin Harrison Jr. and a great tackle and this and that and everything, but at the very least, you're still talking about the Bo Nix, J.J. McCarthy second-round pick quarterback, right? To like hedge your bets a little bit. Like you're not going to go into next year with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi as your quarterback room.
You know what's funny? I look back at my notes from training camp, and did you know the very first 11-on-11 in training camp that they did, Mac threw a pick to Duggar. Like that was like
I remember that.
It's like
yeah,
first drive of the season. Like it's like so many times he makes turnovers just right out of the gate. Like right out of the gate.
I just feel like maybe it's not all his fault. I'm willing to accept that, but I just think he's shown you who he is many times, and people some people, not a lot, some people refuse to just believe what they've seen.
Yeah, they're still saying it's uncharacteristic.
It's
like,
a
how many
ceiling.
pick sixes do I
Right.
need to see before it's
Like, I think if you give him the stuff that Evan's talking about, he will be better. But there's a ceiling to how much better. And to me, the ceiling is the first half of 21.
Yep.
Yeah.
Andrew, another Navy vet, thank you for your service, writes in, I appreciate what Bill has done, and I think he's a great coach, but is there a chance that rather than the greatest head coach of all time, he's the greatest defensive coordinator of all time, who happened to also have Tom Brady? Just seems like it's been a slow-motion train wreck since Brady left with bad decision after bad decision.
No, I don't think that's possible.
Okay.
But that's just me. I think that's really ignoring pretty much 75% of what Bill Belichick brought to the table here for 24 years if you're just saying all he brought was being a really good defensive coach.
Joe writes in, he's in Michigan, Bill is a very intimidating and forceful man. What is happening is what has been happening over 20 years. Bill is in charge and deciding the future of the team. He is still the boss. Imagine sitting across the table from him.
Well, yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
That was
As
my
someone
whole
who's
thing.
been on the other side of the table,
Well, that's why
that's a pretty accurate description.
it takes a billionaire to do it.
Somebody sent
That's
me
what
a quote from the late Pat Bolin, who was the owner of the Broncos.
This one's
And
for
and-
John.
And the quote was about when he got rid of Dan Reeves. And he said that
Dan Reeves.
he wanted to get his team back.
Yeah.
You know, he felt like he had lost control and that Dan Reeves maybe had too much power.
He become the team.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Dan Reeves is just phenomenal to certain people.
Salt
in
of the
building.
earth.
So overrated.
Yeah.
Oh.
Doesn't deserve. Just kidding.
Oh.
Aaron.
When we were in Denver, he was like, "Oh, do you see it? Do you see it up there?"
Oh.
And we were all like, "What?" And he's
So
like, "Dan Reeves in the Ring
I-
of Honor."
I showed restraint, but when I had the opportunity to interview Bergeron and Andrews was talking a little bit about his uncle, and his uncle and of course Aaron, who is a Dan Reeves file, was standing there looking at us, and I was like, do I call him out right now and bring up Dan Reeves, who it was? And I didn't do it, but Aaron was like, I mean, why didn't you do it? Like, he wanted me to. And be like, oh, who are you talking about? Dan Reeves. Yeah, Aaron loves him some Dan Reeves.
Ryan in Colorado, he says,
Getting
you
a lot
guys
of
are
mileage out of that interview, by the way. Humble brag.
It was.
Ryan in
Did a great
Colorado
job.
says, you guys are missing the possibility that Bill will bring back McDaniels to be the defensive coordinator. Chess, baby.
Oh, that's funny. That
He
is
approaches
funny.
it from a different
Well
angle.
done.
Was that from Johnny South Beach?
good.
That was right up his alley.
Let's go to Eldred. What's up, Eldred?
Eldred.
Hey, fellas, I'm going to take my lump.
Oh, no.
Last night, but I still would take it.
Yeah.
And Deuce,
Yeah.
like I said, man, I love you.
Yeah.
Why do you want to keep the same treat with Vrabel or anybody else? I'm like Paul and Tamir. Bring somebody that's offensive minded, get a quarterback, try to get one,
Yeah.
and just go to work. Do it differently. Change is better. And 24 years of this was great, but y'all keep Evan. I know you keep saying he's the greatest coach of all time. He also had the greatest player of all time, and I'm gonna keep throwing that in there because when he left, things fell apart. Before he got him, things were falling apart. So the middle is in the middle. But like I said, I wish they'd do something because up here in NFL Network, they keep saying Vrabel might come to New England as the head coach, and that'd be a big mistake, I think.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think?
I don't
think it's a possibility.
Yeah, I think it's a possibility. I don't know. It's also just like, getting so carried away with the offensive coach. It's like, I've heard nothing but people call in and give Tom Brady all the credit, and it's like, can't you get a player that can transcend who his offensive coordinator is or who his coach is? Like,
Yeah, I would also say that just because he's a defensive mind, the point that Mike keeps making that's accurate is doesn't mean he can't put together a good offensive staff and allow that offense to be different. I'm
with you on that.
I just want a different style of
I'm with
play.
you with that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
all. I don't want someone who's trying to win with defense.
Sure. I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. One more question. Okay. Everybody keeps saying bringing in McDaniel. Okay. What's wrong with Bill O'Brien? And maybe Bill did give him nuts, just let him run this and that's it.
Yeah.
What about getting him say let him talk?
Yep.
Could it be even better instead of looking for another offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering.
I'm not.
So
Yeah.
I think that's on the table too.
I'm not opposed to that. I just think there needs to be some changes because generally speaking, with the staff, the majority of it that stayed the same over the last few years, it's looked the same as far as player development.
It's the worst offense in football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's wrong.
The worst. So why would you keep him?
Yeah. I
Thanks, Eldred.
For me personally, to the like comfort level with the coaching tree and all that stuff, that's more like coping, because I just know that they're not going to hire some random person that's never been here before. Like it's just not going to happen. Like
you're probably right.
And so that's why I've just, okay, well, who's my favorite out of the guys that I know are on the list? Like last year with the offensive coordinator thing, was Bill O'Brien really the best guy for the job, or did we just all know that that's who it was going to be because of the ties to the organization?
Yep.
And I feel the same way about head coach. Like, as much as I want to sit here and pound the table for Ben Johnson or pound the table for Bobby Slowick, which would be Paul's thing, which would be different and innovative and all that stuff, like I don't think they'll do it.
I think there are planes taking off above us.
They're just
Bill in San Diego, why the hell would anyone be in on Mike Vrabel? Paul literally said it. Tennessee is basically the same team as New England right now. So why the hell would Vrabel bring any more success here than he did there? It's absolute insanity. The game has changed. It's time to change the way we do business in that building. You can sub in Mayo's name here too, by the way.
Yeah. But how do we know how Mayo coaches?
Yeah.
From what I've heard, that Mayo is not, like, people have the wrong idea of, like, I feel like people say this.
The NBC Sports Boston guys.
No, I did. Is that what they said?
Yeah, they go to great lengths to tell you how different he is and wants to do things.
I don't know. I just, before the season ended, I figured that Mayo might be the next guy. So I went around the locker room and asked a bunch of the guys just about Mayo, and all of them, so many of them use the words players coach. Like I probably talked to 10 guys, and 8 of them use the words players coach.
Yeah, was a player.
And relatable, and you know that he's been here before, like himself, so he can relate on that level, and just so much like a softer personality than Bill. Like, I just don't think that maybe their mindset of football and like X's and O's and stuff like that might be the same or might be aligned, but in terms of the personality, I truly do think that they're different people.
Alex in Raleigh, North Carolina, happy first off-season show. I'm going to put a name to the claim that I don't want J.J. McCarthy because he is Mac Jones 2.0. No thanks. Get us a quarterback that can move. Daniels, Penix, Williams, one who has a high ceiling. This is going to be an interesting offseason. I think Bill will end up coming back after everything. Paul's 100% right. He said if we collectively agree. He laid out everything in his Monday monologue, and it was a very pointed speech. Since it's the offseason, Fred, any new invention ideas we want to workshop this offseason?
Something with a slot.
We'll have time for that.
Yeah, McCarthy can move okay, by the way. I do think the comparison to Mac is similar. I don't think he was needed to do a whole lot with a team that was really, really talented. And some people have said, and Evan would know more about this than I would, I think Harbaugh has been quoted as saying they will break the record for the amount of drafted players on this team.
It's possible.
Wow.
I mean, maybe not this year, but over the course
on the team.
of the next couple. With McCarthy though, his skill set's much different from Mac's.
I agree.
He's more toolsy than Mac Jones was, but way less accurate and
better arm and definitely better athleticism.
Yeah, but not as pure of a processor as Mac Jones is. I actually think if you want to make a comp like to Mac, like Penix is not that far off. I would say in some respects from what Mac was in college.
Eldred just crashed.
But another much better arm, though.
Better arm for sure. But even last night, when it's off platform, it didn't look all that much better.
I don't think he's a great runner. Great mover.
But he's not a mobile guy. He's not a great mover in the pocket, and he's propped up by Rome Odunze and Polk and Mitchell and 3 top 100 wide receivers. Like there's some comps there too. And that was my whole thing with Eldred last week was I got to see him against Michigan first because maybe it is just that Rome Odunze is that much better than the cornerbacks on Texas, and he's just out there making plays, and that's sort of what happened last night.
So Deuce, it's gotten around that you don't like McDonald's at all.
Yeah,
he hasn't been in like 20 years.
20
Jacob
years.
from Nashville says, I love Deuce, but can't trust anyone who doesn't eat McDonald's. Check his basement.
You don't like McDonald's?
No.
Not that I don't like it. I don't eat there.
Well,
okay.
and the
Hasn't
bigger,
been
the
there in
bigger
like 20 years.
The bigger problem is his kids are scared of it.
We did instill the fear of McDonald's into my kids. Not really purposely, but
because
we just
of like nutrition reasons, or
no, we just never really went there, and I don't know
because of the clown.
The clown.
The clown did scare me as
scary.
a kid. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like clowns.
But look, I'm gonna do it sometime this off season. I'll go at lunch and I'll crush a McChicken sandwich for y'all, so you know that that I'm okay.
So number one,
Big nugs,
a Big Mac.
I'll do a Big Nug too.
I think the fries at McDonald's are still 1-1. I do. Like Chick-fil-A's got good fries too.
Fast food fries.
I think they're still the GOAT.
I still love In-N-Out fries. Those are.
Well, that doesn't count.
I know, but I love them.
Dan of Virginia and Michigan, he says Penix's stock is rising. It might be against conventional wisdom, but after last night's game, I think Penix would be the perfect quarterback for the Patriots. Given the performance of Washington's O-line against Michigan, the situation at the Patriots should be all too familiar for Penix. Looks like he has a strong arm, too. By the time he was done running backwards away from the Michigan defense on every play, every pass he made was a downfield throw just to get back to the line of scrimmage. So that's a little sarcasm there.
A little bit.
It's not funny. It's still
too
soon.
I dabble.
Willems and Phillum. What's up, Willem?
What's up? How you doing?
All right.
All right, just 3 questions because I know the show's about to end soon.
Just 3.
Two for Evan and 1 for Paul.
Nobody else answered.
Paul. Paul, look, I like Williams, May, and also Daniels, but why so much pushback on Drake May?
I like Drake May.
Oh, you like Drake May? Okay.
Yeah, I like Drake May. I think Drake May has a little Josh Allen in him.
He does.
Now, you could say, like, that's good or bad, but...
Doesn't he also have the most unknown because of competition?
I guess you could look at it that way.
I mean, I wouldn't. He played in the ACC. It's not like he played, like, a Tennessee Chattanooga.
And he was a 1-year starter, right? Or
No,
multi-year starter. But I agree with you that the ACC sucked this
the
year.
ACC is not as good as the SEC and the Big Ten. I don't think anybody would argue that.
Yeah.
This year, the Pac-12 was maybe better than all of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, except the champion, apparently.
Right.
No, but that's one team.
I know.
All right,
But I like Drake May. I mean, I wouldn't be a no on Drake May.
I wouldn't either, but I'm not allowed to answer this.
Okay. All right, Evan, and just the last 2 questions for Evan.
Sorry.
How did you feel about the Michigan running backs, and what would you do with the number 3 pick in the draft? And I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I feel like you're trolling me with the Michigan running backs because this is I knew you were because this is a catch-22 thing that I refuse to talk about running backs. I refuse.
Come on,
No. And let you do running backs on your own time. Like if the Patriots touch a running back in the top 150, I will be pissed. Like don't no. No.
So if Christian McCaffrey from Stanford was available, you wouldn't talk about it?
No, because if they take him at 3 overall, then we're screwed. Like you might as well just pick next year top 3 again. Like why don't we just keep picking in the top 3 if you want to pick positions that don't matter?
Evan, now with the first 3, no. Definitely not. Like
okay, well, so Blake Corum's going to go in the top 100, probably in the somewhere in the 3rd round, I would say.
And he's going to be a good player for somebody.
Yeah, the other back might be more in their in that like 4th and 5th round territory that they could get him early day 3.
Donovan Edwards.
Yep, and maybe that would be doable. But yeah, I'm not taking any running backs before the 4th round if I'm the Patriots. I can see the need, like
I agree
in general, but if I 3rd overall pick, I am starting to come around, but to Jaden Daniels. Maybe that's also coping for the fact that they're going to miss the first 2 guys, so that's kind of the guy that's left at the table. But I really do like a lot of things about the idea of Jaden Daniels, and you want to modernize the offense, like finally get somebody that can play 11 on 11 and run around a bit.
I mean, I know we'll know before then, but I would just be more comfortable knowing who's going to be Jaden Daniels' coach and what kind of offense he's going to be running and all that stuff.
Because he does have, some processing issues of seeing, things in the middle of the field.
He's not going to
reading
be
the field
100% ready.
No, I don't think he'll be 100% ready. I think that every single quarterback, the way I look at it right now, is all these guys. There's no perfect prospect, so all of them have flaws. And so I guess the question really is like which flaws do you care the least about? A guy like Caleb Williams, he wants to hold the ball and run around and create extended plays, and he's got a ton of fumbles and sacks in college as a result. Drake May is Josh Allen. Like I think that's a really nice comp coming out of Wyoming, that sometimes the ball just is all over the place. Like he'll just throw these passes that are 10 yards over the guy's head, and you're just like, whoa, like where did that come from? And then Jaden Daniels, I think, is a little bit of a developmental project as a passer right now. So which one do you want to work with.
That's what I kind of find myself not wanting to work with, is trying to develop a guy who's a great athlete and teach him how to throw. Like, that just generally, that to me seems like a huge ask. I would rather just go with a guy who at least can throw and can run a little bit than have to get a guy and teach him how to pass.
So I would say that Jaden Daniels' issues as a passer are more mental. Like, physically, I think he's got a really consistent release point and, like, really does well with his mechanics for the most part. Drake May, I'd be more concerned about his footwork and his antsiness a little bit with his feet than that.
But I almost
Caleb
mean
is his own thing. Like, Caleb just does it differently.
He's got the Mahomes stuff.
Yeah.
But I almost mean it more of, like, philosophically. Like, is this guy going into a game saying, I'm going to beat them with my arm, or is this guy going to go into the game and say, I'm going to run all
Can
over
I
these
change
guys?
your parameters a little bit?
Sure.
That's fair.
You said you don't want a guy that runs around that
you kind of have to teach him to
throw. You have to teach him to throw.
Not so much.
And
like
then you said, I'd rather
mechanics.
have a guy who can run a little bit and throw.
Well, just a guy who can run secondary.
Would you rather have a guy that is a great pocket passer but he can't run, or a guy who can run but is a project thrower?
Right.
Don't say, like, because everybody would rather have the guy who's a great passer who can also run a little bit when needed.
I totally hear what you're saying and what you're
like,
getting at. No.
Let's make him Mac Jones.
Yeah,
and say that he's just a pocket guy and he can't run.
Then I'd lean towards the Mac Jones. As much as we've
Really?
seen those warts
So
right now.
I would lean toward the Jaden Daniels. I'll teach him how to throw. He can make plays to get himself out of.
I mean, I don't have ready examples off the top of my head though, but like other than Lamar, who have been the great runners that have really settled into being a thrower?
We're just figuring it out now.
Right.
I think Jalen Hurts, when he came out of the, I watched Jalen Hurts a lot in college, and I never would have guessed he could throw the ball as well as he has in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think you can do it.
Yeah.
I think a big thing that you see with Jaden Daniels is that he'll have guys open on the field and opt to run.
Yeah.
And sometimes he'll like pass up a crossing route that's open that would probably gain 15 yards, and then he scores a 50-yard touchdown with his legs. So it's like, do you fault him for passing up the crosser when he knows that he can?
He's going to have to figure out that he ain't running for 50-yard touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, teams will play man coverage down the field. Nobody's on the quarterback. And then here comes your quarterback, just running like against Florida. He had like 200 yards rushing on that, Alabama.
That's
same
a
thing.
600-yard game? Was
Yeah.
that Florida?
Yeah. And it's the same thing. It's just like he's passing up reads down the field. Yes. But he's passing them up to run all over the place. And it's like, which one would you rather? I think with Drake May, he has consistency issues as a thrower, but he's more you can tell that his process is smarter. Like you can tell that he's understanding, okay, if I look over here and pump there, then that's going to move this guy, then I'm going to come back to this throw and I'm going to hit it here. But the ball placement's more inconsistent.
Well, that's what I've liked about Drake May in the little bit I've watched him so far, is just that he does have that athleticism, the run for it, but not so much that his mind is kind of poisoned into thinking like that's the first thought to run. I mean, I know there's a million ways to skin a cat, but
all right.
That's it. We're going long. Oh man,
this is why you
got going.
You can't
off-season
go to the off-season
show.
schedule.
That's it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered.
Too much.
Remember, we're back to our off-season, so we'll be here on Thursday. Is there a playbook tomorrow? Yes, there's a playbook with John Rook from 12 to 2. Catch 22 also on Thursday.
Thursday morning before.
Thursday morning. So keep in touch with Patriots.com because who knows what could happen and when. But when it does, we'll be here.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original.